Tip today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tip Today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number if you want to give us a call. It won't cost you. And Leanne is producing, but it's a rather special show today because we're broadcasting from Tipperary FET College on Kenyon Street in Nenagh for the launch of a new tertiary degree pathway between Tipperary ETB and Mary I College in Limerick. Now the programme opens up some fresh opportunities. We'll be talking about that in just a little while. We'll also hear about other opportunities indeed through a FET. Johnny Luby is live on the premises with us. We'll also have gardening advice with Ultan Nesbit from Arrabawn. Deputy Alan Kelly is going to drop in, and of course our Friday panel will unpack the big topics of the week. So all of that and much, much more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers today. The Irish Indo and Charlie Weston has the story that first-time buyers will be able to borrow up to 5 times their income in a new move by mortgage lender Nua Money, which denied it will be a return to Celtic Tiger era lending standards. To the Irish Times, and they're leading with the story that Iran's new supreme leader has vowed to prevent the enemy's abuses of the Strait of Hormuz and safeguard the country's nuclear capabilities after talks with the US reached a stalemate. Yet another stalemate, can you believe? Also on the Times today, we're reading that Daniel Kinahan, the leader of the Kinahan cartel, is expected to be held in the state's maximum security facility in Portlaoise following any extradition to Ireland. And also, we quite often speak about the cost of living on the programme, but interesting to read Conor Pope's piece today on the Times, telling us that Kerrygold butter is on sale in County Kerry and throughout Ireland for 65% more than it costs in Berlin. Go figure that. Let's have a look at the Irish Daily Mail. And the lead story on the Mail today, the building firm BAM, well, you're just not going to be able to believe this. They were given a cash flow loan of €29 million by the state, which was revoked after staff numbers at the new Children's Hospital site in Dublin were not increased. So that story just trundles on, and the sheer waste of it is incredible. The Irish Examiner, and the lead story on the Examiner today, Liz Dunphy's piece. The Garda Commissioner has admitted that a weakness and a lack of uniformity remains in the force's response to domestic violence. And also on the Examiner today, detections for speeding using a mobile phone while driving or not wearing seatbelts have all surged in the last year, Gardaí have said, as motorists were urged to take care on the roads this bank holiday weekend. So let's look at what's making headlines today. Again, if you'd like to comment on any of that, we'd be glad to hear from you, and you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now, as I said this morning, we are live from Tipperary FET College in Kenyon Street in Nenagh, one of 20 FET centres across Tipperary, showcasing some of the fantastic tertiary degree programmes available for the upcoming academic year. Now, to begin with, I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Maurice Harmon, who is head of the Department of Learning, Society and Religious Education at Mary I College, and Clodagh Kelly is with me, who is Chief Executive of Tipperary ETB. You're both welcome, and thanks indeed for having us today indeed. Can I go to you first of all, Maurice, and just look for an overview, particularly of this primary school teaching opportunity that's going to be there now?
Good morning, and delighted to be here with you to talk today about our new opportunity of a tertiary pathway programme into primary education. This is a programme that has been designed that takes away the pressure of the CAO points for students, and it's an alternative pathway. We at Mary I were approached to get involved in designing this pathway and being involved in it around the whole idea of diversification of teacher education. So this pathway is about the diversification of teacher education to bring more voices into teacher education. Teacher education and teachers are from a particular homogenous group across Ireland at the moment, and I suppose There is some elements of diversity, but we want to expand diversity so that children in the classroom can see themselves standing in front of classrooms in the future.
Yes, because off air we were speaking about the diversity in the classroom itself, but that's not necessarily being reflected in the teaching staff.
No, it isn't. So there is elements of it coming through as students do come through the CEO system, but the CEO system doesn't meet the needs of everybody. So this is one that maybe students who have struggled because of certain socioeconomic or health, disability issues, or other things that may have hindered them during their time in education. And this tertiary pathway offers them another route into teacher education. So it's a 5-year pathway. So the first year will be spent by the students here in the Tipperary ETB, and we are also partnered with Limerick Clare ETB. So there'll be 2 sites that will feed into Immaculate College. There will be 30 spaces across the 2 sites. There will be 15 of them based here in Nenagh, in this centre, and those students will engage in a programme of study. They will be here for the year. However, during that year, they will have a week where they'll come into Mary I, and we will have an experience, what it will be like for them when they do come into the college. So they will engage in lectures, they will have different activities during that time, and they'll have an orientation, and then there will be an end-of-year event at Mary I. So while they'll be primarily based here, they will also have engagement with the college. The other thing, I suppose, that's nice about this programme is that the minute they register on the course here, they become registered students at Mary I. So they get a Mary I student card, they get a Mary I number, they get all access and students' rights at Mary I. So they can either access the campus in Thurles or at Limerick, and they can join societies, they can access the libraries and all the facilities we have. So they get the full student experience from the very beginning. So they are registered as students in a HEI. And I suppose the other thing around this course is that there is certain academic requirements you need to get into the programme. And there is also certain priority groups that we are looking for. So we're looking for, there is a matrix that you fill out as part of the application, and in that there is a diversity. So we're looking at things like community and residential disadvantage, education disadvantage, and certain priority groups like low-income families, mature lone parent students, travelling Roma community refugees, ethnic diversity and disability. And in the application, you will be asked to identify how you meet these various targets. Then what will happen is that the admissions office here in Tipperary will look at that sense of diversity, and they will be ranked in descending order. And then students will be invited to interview based on that. So I suppose this is the emphasis that we have, is to diversify teacher education and offering an alternative route in.
But once they arrive on the campus of Mary I after doing their year, it's the same course, isn't it?
It is the exact same course. So what this course is doing here, the FET course, is bringing them up to the minimum standards that are set by the Department of Education for all people entering teacher education. So there are certain standards people have. The traditional one that we all know about is to have the honour in Irish to enter teacher education. Students can enter this programme with either a 0-3 or a H6 in Irish in their Leaving Cert. However, by the time that they come to the end of the programme, they will have done 2 modules in Irish. They will have had to achieve distinction in those 2, and that is the equivalence, and we have mapped it from the H4 Leaving Cert standard back onto this programme. So this programme will bring them up to that standard. So it's not going to be a diminishment in the standard of Irish, because once they arrive in Mary I, what we want them to do is to be set up to succeed. We don't want any student to be set up to fail. So we want them to be able to succeed. They will do the exact same course as every other student.
Yes.
When they arrive at Mary I, they will just become another number inside the 400 other odd students that will be on that programme. However, we will have additional supports available to them, but they will not be identifiable as a group across the college. They will be just another student who is reaching their dream, trying to reach their full potential and to become a teacher and to bring that sense of who I am and the community I represent into the teaching profession. And the other thing I think this is going to do for us as a college is it's going to allow different voices, and those voices influence education, and those voices will influence how we think as teachers. And I think that often when you are in a group that is somewhat homogenous, those voices get lost, that we're in a particular bubble. So I think for the college, it's a wonderful experience because it will allow us to have a variety of voices feeding into the conversation, and then in future they will become teachers in schools, feed into policy, and I think there's a great knock-on effect. So it's a super opportunity, I think, for students who really want to be primary school teachers, and I think it's a great opportunity for us as a college to partner with Tipperary ETB and Limerick in leading out this nationally at this time.
And of course, from a practical point of view, there's lots of unfilled primary school teaching positions out there. There's spaces out there, and I suppose this will just add to teacher supply. Yeah. And I suppose they were one of the units that we worked with very closely in developing this, was the Department of Education Teacher Supply Unit, in saying that we will have 30 extra spaces at Mary Immaculate College. The students who complete this course will transition seamlessly into Mary I. They will not be going through any CEO process. Their admissions will be through the college here in Tipperary or through Limerick. Just to say, the applications are wide open at the moment. They will close on the 28th of May. And when they close on the 28th of May, then a process will begin, and students hopefully will be sitting on seats here on the 14th of September, beginning their journey to becoming primary school teachers. And just for clarity, how to apply?
How to apply is you go onto the NTO website, nto.ie, and you can follow the process there, and they will lead you to the application process, and you can click either on the Tipperary or the Limerick. There's one up for each of them, or you can go to fetcourses.ie and follow the process along there.
Very good.
But the key date to remember is the 28th of May is the closing date, and the other key date is the 14th of September, when the first 15 students will arrive here in Tipperary to begin what is a groundbreaking event in Irish education.
It's going to be very exciting today. Clodagh, I suppose the old saying of where Tipperary goes, the country follows. We're to the forefront of this, really, here in Tipperary, aren't we?
Absolutely, Fran, and thank you very much for the invitation to be here today. No, we're absolutely thrilled. I suppose we've been working on this for many years now, in collaboration with our colleagues in MIC, in Limerick Clare ETB, but also other ETB colleagues as well. It hasn't been a solo run, but I suppose we made the decision a year ago to take the lead role in the programme development and making sure that this Level 5 programme in primary education, it's a major award in education studies primary pathway, that we would take the lead on it and lead it out to validation through QQI, which is the awarding body for all courses. We're also really excited to be aligned with the National Access Plan that's been developed 2022 to 2028. And Simon Harris, I suppose, when he was Minister in the Department of Further and Higher Education, when it was established, had this vision of removing barriers to education for people, and seeing cohorts of learners who were underrepresented in higher education being given the opportunity to progress. So that has three key target areas, so socio-economic disadvantaged learners, members of Irish traveller and Roma communities, and those students who may have disabilities, including intellectual disability, that they are given the same opportunity as every other learner. And I think Maurice said it really well. It's about, if you can't see it, you can't be it. I'm taking the analogy from sport. And for many of our children today in our schools, both primary and post-primary, they don't see themselves reflected in the teachers who are at the top of the classroom. And we're delighted that we're in a position to be able to start that process of having a more inclusive, a more diverse and a more equitable higher education system.
So is there an element of positive discrimination where this is concerned as well?
I think there is, and I think that has been the idea behind it and the underpinning principle behind this. And it's around, and it aligns so well with our core values of excellence, care, equality, community and respect, and equality in particular, and equity. And giving everybody the opportunity that if that is their dream to become a primary school teacher, well, we have to remove barriers where we can. We're not saying we're lowering the standards, but we're providing alternative pathways and progression opportunities for learners to live their dream, I suppose, and achieve what they want to be.
And those extra supports, as Maura said, will be available in Mary I right throughout the programme as well, which is so important.
They will, and Morris can maybe talk to that, but I know here within Tipperary ETB it will be a small cohort, it will be 15 students, it's almost one-to-one tuition. We've a really dedicated team of teachers here who will be delivering the modules. Further education is about bringing all learners to their full potential and achieving to the best of their ability, and I've every confidence that the tutors and teachers that we have here will support the students in every way.
You're in place as Chief Executive for about a year at this point, Clodagh. What about the success of tertiary programmes in general here in over the course of the last 12 months?
So over the course of the last 12 months, we were one of the last ETBs to become involved in the National Tertiary pilot, and it is still a pilot, but we introduced 2 tertiary degree programmes last year in collaboration with TUS, one in Thurles and one in Clonmel. So we've seen an applied sports science course running for the last year, hugely successful. The students start in year 1 with us and then progress. Once they achieve, they progress seamlessly into TUS and continue in year 2, 3 and 4 and will achieve a Bachelor of Science if they're successful. And the second one we've been running is the Digital Arts programme in Clonmel, both hugely successful. And again, it's down to the experienced staff that we have who have, embraced this and really want to offer alternative pathways for learners if that's what they want to do. So, visit our website, tipperaryetb.ie. We have a number of videos where we actually have videos with learners who are telling you about their experience of being on the tertiary programme in the sports science and in the digital arts. We're also really excited that this year, while we're introducing the tertiary bachelor in education primary teaching, but we're also collaborating with TUS in Athlone to offer a Bachelor of Science in mental health nursing. So we will now have 4 opportunities for learners to pursue their dreams and to look at their pathways and where they want to go.
I'm so jealous, Morris. I wish these opportunities were there back in my day, for sure. It is so inclusive now, isn't it?
It is, and do you know why there is certain academic standards you have to get into the programme? The object for us is success of our students. Yeah. And, we will have a package of measures around that will be particularly targeted to these 30 students when they arrive at Mary I. So these students will have an academic mentor that will meet every roughly 3 weeks. Our Access Office will have additional supports to support them in any academic area. We'll have counselling services. There will be a whole suite of available to them to allow them to flourish and to reach their potential. So I suppose I would say to anybody who's out there this morning, go on the websites, have a look to see what are the academic standards that you need to meet, whether you're coming through the Leaving Cert or if a student has already got a QQI major, level 5 major award, they can apply, but they have to have certain standards like a TEG, a requirement in Irish, or a H603 in a Leaving Cert that they would have done. So there is options. So it's not all about the Leaving Cert. So if people have already been engaging in FET courses, there is a route to access this as well through the admissions policy. So it is open to people who have had that dream, they want to follow it, and now go on the website, have a look and to see, do you meet the criteria, and put in your application, and every application will be welcomed, and we will go through the process, and 15 will be
very good.
Receive the places
Does
here.
age play a part in this, by the way?
Age does not play a part.
Okay.
Anybody, there is mature students, there's an access, mature students can access, they're all within the priority groups, and I suppose it is to allow students in the future to see themselves standing in front of classrooms so that they can say, do you know what, I can be a teacher too, and there's a way that I can be it.
You came from the classroom literally to this job. I mean, what have you learned over the course of the last year, do you think, Clodagh? What?
I think what I've learned about the year is it is actually all about relationships and respect. And it's about trying your best to work with people, not to be putting up barriers, to meet people where they're at. I mean, when I was principal in Newport College, our motto was, it was a school where every child matters. And that's our fundamental philosophy. And I think both of our organisations, we've multiple collaborations with Mary Immaculate College, both in Limerick through the primary education piece. We've our community national school here in Nenagh, but also in St Pat's in Thurles, Mary I St Pat's, where we're working in from a post-primary perspective. It is all about the learner. And we have to keep that as our main focus. And if you keep the learner at the centre of everything that we do, I don't think we can go wrong.
Yes, and also what's great is, I mean, we hear it on the programme every single day. We're living in such a difficult times, divided society out there often as well. This plays into people being inclusive and people working together, whatever the background might be.
It is, and I think too the collaboration between the HEIs and the ETBs, shows that there's multiple routes to get to where you want to be, and it allows various voices to be part of the conversation. And the more voices we have feeding into policy, into how we shape society, the better our society will be, and the better our schools are going to be for this, and our colleges, both the FET College here in Tipperary, but also Mary I, that the more voices that we have feeding in, the richer the conversation is, and the impact that will have on the society that we're there to serve. And at the end of the day, as I always say, the people that we serve are the children of the classroom through our primary programme, and we want the best quality teachers with the best experience to go out and give those children every opportunity as they begin in their life journey.
Well, it's all very exciting indeed. Thank you to both of you, to Dr. Mars Harman there and to Clodagh Kelly, who's CEO of Tipperary.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks
Delighted
so
to be
much.
with you this morning.
Great to see you both. We'll take a break. We're back with more in just a few moments.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Tip Today, a rather special one. We are broadcasting from the Tipperary FET College on Kenyon Street in Nenagh. And Johnny Luby is with me now. When you think back to your days in the CBS, Johnny, and you look at all the opportunities that kids have now, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, Fran, as we came in here to see a nest load of computers taken to table. And I hadn't a clue how to turn on bloody one of them, but anyway.
Yeah, there's about 30 of them out there. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's a fine place to have here.
Isn't it just,
fair play to them, yeah.
But of course, you'll be big on computers. Did they ask your advice on maintaining computers here or anything? No.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Fran, Catherine, on her television, she has whatever the channels are and that, but anyway, I wanted to get something else. She was gone to Masterton, and I wanted to get something else on the thing. Anyway, when she came back, her exact words were you at my
at the remote?
Yeah, remote. I said, no, really. She said, what do you mean, really? She said, you have it shagged up. She said she had to ring some fella to come and fix it. I wouldn't have a clue what's going on in them things.
Nellie O'Connor had the cheek to ring you just before we went on air. She was looking for a plug for something, of course.
That's right,
she?
Yeah, the drive-in bingo in Golden on Monday, the bank holiday, and there'll be huge crowds there, so we're expecting a huge crowd there on the bank holiday Monday, which is just 3 days away.
Right, it should be brilliant altogether. And why did you ask me about the Coronas?
Oh yeah, the Coronas, the only Coronas I know, they're in a bottle. But yeah, I think they're a famous band.
They're a very famous band,
yeah. And they play
Danny O'Reilly's band.
Yeah, they play in Clonoulty on the 27th of June. Tickets seemingly are...
Oh, that's going to be huge.
Going like hot buns.
Yeah.
And that I was talking to a lady out here as a secretary, one of the girls here, the secretary in DTB, and she said, all I can tell you about the Coronas is, she said, they were playing in Galway, and 3 sets of parents decided that they couldn't let them off on their own, so they're obviously 17 or 18. So one woman said, she said, she'd drive them up. So she said, I walked around Galway for just 4 hours. She said, waiting for them to come out from the Corona. She said, seemingly they said they were brilliant. So hopefully they'll have a big day in Clonoulty on the 27th.
They are brilliant. I think the lead singer is Mary Black's son, isn't he? Danny O'Reilly, I think he's Mary's son. Let's go to stuff you do know about, Johnny. What about hurling? And last weekend, of course.
That's right, Jeff. I was in Freshford on Sunday morning looking at the grandchildren up from Wexford doing pony jumping, and then we came back to Dermody's in Littleton, that wonderful watering hole. Found out more about all your background. And that's when drink is in, sense goes out the window. But
I haven't been in Dermody's for years.
Yeah, it's a lovely setup. I watched Cork and Limerick there, and then we belted on to Simon's in Clonoulty, because that was on the GA go, Tipp and Waterford, and of course Robert the Chipper van was just below outside John Ned's pub or Tony Brennan, so we had chips and a burger there on the side of the road, and that was fantastic. But as regards Tipp and Waterford, I suppose to have to believe, Fran, they were leading by 11 points at one stage and playing champagne hurling, and then into the second half we weren't able to raise a gallop as such. Our energy levels weren't where they should be, and as a result then I think Waterford went ahead by a point, but then we got 3 or 4 points on the trot, and we were leading by 3 points into injury time, and they got a goal, and that levelled it up. So I suppose look, it's grand to get something out of it, and that last year we had 1 point after 2 games. That was against Limerick, where we had drawn with them in Tullis. So and then we went on to win the All-Ireland. So Tipperary are still there. I suppose they would be hoping maybe that Limerick could win on Sunday against Clare. That game is in Ennis, simply because if Clare win, they have 4 points, and Tipperary have only 1. So our next game then would be against Clare. If we'd lucky enough to beat Clare, we'd have 3 points, but then we'd have to try and beat Limerick below on the Gaelic grounds, and that could be hard to do. But I think as regards the winner next Sunday, I think Clare will be hard to beat down.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. What did you make of that Limerick-Cork game? Were you surprised?
I suppose one could say Limerick probably, they gave away a stupid goal. I mean, every goal that's given away is certainly stupid if you didn't poke the ball, knock it on, or do something with it. But the full-back hand passed it out to the centre-back, who was bottled up, and as a result of that, then Cork got the goal that brought him back into it. Cork are a decent bloody outfit as well, you know. But I wouldn't mind another crack at them down the line if Tipperary can get their mojo right, you know.
Be great, yeah. Success then Wednesday night and last night indeed. So the under-20s, first of all, Wednesday night.
The under-20s, brilliant win for Brendan Cummins and the lads, and heartiest congratulations to them. They had to win by so many points and hope that Cork would beat Clare, I think it was, and they had to win by at least 10 or 12 points, which they done, and well done to them. We knew what they were capable of, but Clare had won the All-Ireland minor 3 years ago, so the Tipp can't be too bad, you know. They're in a good place. And then last night in the minors, they had a nice win against Limerick as well. James Woodlock is in charge of them, and that's a brilliant win for them. And of course Tipp FM are doing marvellous commentaries and a whole lot on all the games.
Well, that's for sure. Paul is doing a great job. And of course
the footballers put up a good show for 20 minutes into the second half against Cork. In Tullis, there was only a point or two between them, but then when the final whistle was over, there was maybe a good few pints between them. But Tipp would be happy enough with the performance, you know. I suppose the big performances for us last weekend were the Tipperary ladies beating Cork, which is absolutely fantastic there, because Cork are a top-class ladies football team. They've got to All-Ireland finals, won league finals and everything else, but our girls performed absolutely brilliant, and heartiest congratulations to them. And of course to James Heffernan and his charges in the Camogie. A fantastic win to go down to Super Value Porky Keeve and play before the Limerick Cork game. That game started at 12 o'clock, the Camogie, and a brilliant win for them. They showed plenty of fighting spirit and that, and with the under-23s absolutely flying as well, it means that he'll find it harder to pick a team, which is what every coach wants, you know, to have a couple of players going for each position. So, fair play to them.
Fantastic. Yeah, to rugby then, you want to start by congratulating Clonmel, I suppose, John.
That's right, Jeff, and well done to Clonmel. They beat Bective Rangers there in front of a huge crowd, and now that the rugby season will be, or the rugby geography will be divided next year, it goes across in a line from Galway to south of Dublin, and there will be no more travelling up north, and that, so that's a big burden off of all the clubs. They'll play teams there that are in 2A and 2B, from Galway across the Kildare, across just draw a line across the map of Ireland.
And poor old Kilfeacle beaten by Nenagh.
Yeah, by a very strong Nenagh team, may I say. I mean, I'm saying
You're finding it hard to say that, aren't you?
I'm not, no, but our lads put up a tremendous performance. It was level at full time. We could have maybe clinched it, but we didn't. And Nenagh are very strong insofar as a lot of their players can play, as I said before, they can play 4 or 5 games in senior club rugby and then come back and play in the junior cup. I don't know how it is allowed to happen, but it's not the junior cup anymore, because the finalists now are Cork Constitution and Nenagh, and I think that's on this weekend. And they're 2 senior clubs. It's very hard for a junior club to survive, but there was a huge crowd in Kilfeacle on Sunday last, and they were certainly delighted with the performance our lads put up. And on Friday night next they play the Munster Challenge Cup, which is completely confined to junior clubs. So it's a huge thing as well, because they're having a marvellous season between League and Garryowen Cup and 2 second-team cups and that. Look,
Isn't it great to see it? Did you make it at all to Punchestown?
No, Fran, I did not. I saw it on the television there. It was wonderful to see.
There's a fine bunch of women from Anacarty went up on Tuesday. I won't name and shame, but they had a great day.
Did they come back?
They came back, but they came back without money.
That hen party in Portugal last weekend, Fran, was unbelievable.
Was it good?
I saw my young one lady, Siobhan now, I won't say what age she is, but she's slightly over 40, I would think. But
she's going to kill you for that, you know.
She must have. She didn't go for the pina coladas. After I left in a drink for her in the Leinster House, she wouldn't touch them pina coladas.
What did she have?
Some kind of a purple drink. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, it's a kind of wine-coloured drink.
Oh, what's a purple drink, Leanne?
Sangria, that's it. Good girl, Leanne. You must be after sculling a few. But they had jugs of sangria down in a place called The Well. But Siobhan went on something else because she didn't like the sangria. But anyway, she was on this karaoke.
Oh,
mother of God, friend, stop.
Oh, Lord. Right. You can't beat drink. It's just wonderful, isn't it? What about the winner? Do you want to talk about winners?
That's right, yeah. Bob Allinger won the big race yesterday. He's owned by Brian Atchison in Clonmel, and I'm sure half of Clonmel were on him. He had the 2 horses in the same race, Tipp, trained by Gordon Elliott, and Bob Allinger, trained by Henry de Bromhead and ridden by Darrow O'Keefe. A marvellous victory. It was 180,000 the winner. Brian owns the Emigrants Rest in Clonmel, and it's a great establishment down there. So fair play to him, and heartiest congratulations and to all concerned.
Mighty indeed. And what about the dogs then? What about the greyhounds, Johnny?
That's right, yeah. The greyhounds, the English Derby is starting now. I think Ireland has about 40 odd greyhounds in it. In the English Derby, it is a total of 150,000 sterling to the winner. And then, of course, in Clonmel, the Produce Stakes starts off again, which is maybe 40 or 50,000 in total value. And there'll be huge crowds in Clonmel over the weekend for greyhounds born or whelped in the year 2024, and that they'll be 2 years old now. It'll be a fantastic stake. So Clonmel and Tullis, friend, they do provide the facilities to hold tremendous charity meetings as well, you know, and everybody makes it.
There's always a great attendance for those as well. You had a beautiful handwritten correspondence.
That's
there
right,
with
Jeff,
you as
and
well.
From one of the all-time greats of Tipperary hurling. I have to take off my glasses. My eyesight is getting better as I get older. It's Newtown, the 27th of April 26. Hello, Johnny. Hope you're keeping well and healthy. We'll enjoy your Friday morning slot. I think you might be taking over from Fran Curry, but very much we enjoy it. Obliged if you could mention the year, the way it goes around so quick. The Newtown Dog Show, which takes place in Barrysfield. I remember last year saying to you, isn't it a great name for a greyhound, Barrysfield, Newtown, on Monday the 4th of May at 1 o'clock. It's been organised by the Burgess O'Hara Camogie Club and the Rovers FC. We reckon it's the top dog show in North Tipperary and surrounding areas. We very much appreciate you giving it the usual good plug. Sincere thanks, Donny Neelan. When I think of that Tipperary full forward line, I think Donny probably won in All-Ireland in 58. He certainly won it in 61 and 2, wow, and 64 and 5. He's definitely to hold off at least 4 or 5 All-Irelands.
His handwriting is just gorgeous.
Oh, it's
just
unbelievable, yeah. And I was talking to one of the girls outside here from the, what are we in, DTB or the FCP or what is
ETB and the FET College.
And she said, I know Donny Nealon well. She said he's a wonderful person to have the crack wit at organising things or presenting medals and that, and he always comes up with something funny. I met him at his brother-in-law's funeral, Mackie McKenna. I didn't know that they were brother-in-laws until I said to Donny, how are you related? He said, a brother-in-law. And I said, Mother of God, it's a wonder they didn't get you into a greyhound in McKenna's.
You wouldn't know where you'd be talking,
no.
would you? New Inn on Sunday?
That's right, Jeff, Fran. We have the New Inn District Vintage Club annual Walter Cleary Memorial Run, cars, bikes, tractors, etc. Sunday, May the 3rd, Rockwell Rovers GA Field. Registration's at 11 o'clock. Kick-off is at 1. They have a kids parade, raffles. An unusual thing there, Tommy Prendergast Memorial. Tommy was one of those wonderful contractors. A fantastic guy. They raised, I think, something well over 130 or 40,000 for the South Hip Hospice and Cancer Society, the whole lot.
We're a great family too.
They have 8 tractors belong to 8 contractors, and they have 4 people each pulling a tractor. Now, I think that's representing, I'm just told this confidential, that they could be shot. I mentioned you.
Thanks for that.
Prendergast is there. So they have an auction at 8 p.m. and it's in aid of the daycare centre, the Parish Links, and that wonderful organisation Seesaw.
Very
so
good indeed. It's something you and I both will be interested in. They're opening a gym.
I think it's right beside Dempsey's. I could picture Ferry.
It's the only gym we'd be in.
Yeah, Ferry, I could picture Ferry coming out with 2 pints in the hand, and he's saying, where is this gadget I'm supposed to shove? Yeah.
Where's the dumbbells?
Yeah, the grand opening of Rose Green Gym and Studio, Saturday, May the 2nd, which is tomorrow, please God, at 6 o'clock. All are welcome. Special guest is Dermot Barron, he of Munster fame, and indeed Ireland rugby player as well. Finger food, face painting, etc. They have a full top class, a free top class raffle, and as I said, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, Fran. Could we see you there?
No, that's for sure. The Michael English concert as well for sarcoma cancer and for Pieta.
That's right, Jeff, and it's unbelievable.
Bank holiday,
it is on the bank holiday Monday, 4th of May, Church of St. Mary's of the Rosary, Nenagh. Tickets from the Nenagh Parish Office or local outlets. Proceeds to Pieta House and sarcoma cancer, 2 most deserving causes.
That's for sure. You wanted to pass on some sympathy, I know.
That's right, Jeff, and to the family of Jerry MacDonald. Jerry was a teacher back in the day, and then he became one of the a bookmaker, but one of the grandest fellas you could meet. Indeed, we had him at the Stakelum Day in Thurles there for the Gold Cup, a wonderful guy, an out and out Carrick Swans man. His biggest, talking to Brian, his son, his biggest thing was that young, or perhaps his name at all, Stephen Tobin, I think, from Carrick Swans, was on the Tipperary senior hurling team. He didn't half give it to us when this young fella made the panel. So.
Yeah, indeed. And my friend Mirish Walsh told me last time, I was very sorry to hear that Bob Hall, the wonderful Bob Hall from Killinall, has passed away. Terrific musician, a wonderful guy.
He was related to the Halls in Cashel as well.
I think they were related.
That's right,
I think they were cousins, weren't they? Because I know that, Ned Hall was originally from...
That's right, yeah.
From Killinall there.
Ned Hall from Killinall. There was a thing, as I'm talking about that neck of the woods, I better say hello to Tommy O'Kane.
Tommy O'Kane?
Yeah, he's out that neck of the woods there. A wonderful guy as well. He used to go to Liston Verna to hear you and back in the day. Yeah.
Will you come to Hallinafela tonight?
By God, you wouldn't know. I'll tell you, I've so many things to go to over the weekend. It's unbelievable. I'm half thinking of doing Barry'sfield on Monday for the dog show.
Yeah.
Because we have a small fella now. He's I'd better pronounce it right. He's a Shih Tzu. Or is it?
Well, you've been described as that yourself from time to time.
But he's, he is. Yeah, he bloody well talk to you. So I'm half thinking of bringing him up, But anyway, we'll see what
it's great. Johnny, pleasure, and thanks for coming up to Nenagh with us. Lovely to see you.
Thanks.
And should we warn your relations that you might be going to see them?
I might go to see them in Bursley. They're doing that road there between...
The lateral bends,
They're doing a tremendous job. I know it is awkward at the moment for people coming to work and that, and anyhow, hopefully, please God, by the time that next Friday comes, that the Children's Hospital might be finished.
Dream on, Johnny, dream on. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you. The great Johnny Luby. We'll take a break. We're back with more. We're live from Nenagh today.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1-800-938-007.
Now, welcome back to Tipperary FET College, Kenyon Street in Nenagh, one of 20 FET centres right across Tipperary, showcasing some of the fantastic tertiary degree programmes available for the upcoming academic year. And to talk to me about some of the other opportunities, I'm delighted to be joined now by Jenny Whelan, who is tertiary manager with Tipperary FET College. Good morning to you, Jenny. And
How are you?
Good to see you again. When we spoke last time round, we were hoping that some of these courses would get up and running. They did.
Yes, they did. Yeah, this time last year we were hoping we'd have applied sports science and digital arts up and running. So thankfully in September 2025 we got both of the courses running. We have applied sports science running in Thurles and we have digital arts running in Clonmel, and we'll have them again running this September for a new cohort of students.
Right, but you have something that's brand new and something I would imagine will be very, very sought after indeed.
Yes, we have 2 new tertiary programmes coming up this September. We have mental health nursing in Roscrea, and we have a pathway into primary teaching with Immaculate College, and that will be run out of this centre here in Nenagh. So they're both really, really exciting options.
Yes, and we spoke about the opportunity for primary teaching earlier on, but would you tell me about the mental health nursing?
Sure. So we are in collaboration with TUS in Athlone, and the students, it's a 5-year programme. We call it a 1+4 programme. That means that the students do 1 year with Tipperary ETB, and then they are guaranteed a place on a degree programme with TUS Athlone at the end of their year with us. So they will be achieving, hopefully, QQI Level 5 Major Award in Nursing Studies after the year with us, and then they will be starting their degree programme with TUS Athlone in September 2027. So it's a guaranteed pathway.
And eligibility for this is what, Jenny?
So there are, it could be mature students, or it could be students who are currently doing their Leaving Cert, or it could also be students who are maybe doing a course at the moment, change their minds. It's really anyone who has an interest in working as a mental health nurse.
Well, it's a fantastic opportunity indeed. That first year with yourselves, what modules are we talking about?
They'll be
doing,
they'll be doing modules associated with the QQI Level 5 Major Award in Nursing Studies. So they'll be doing communications, they'll be doing a work placement, they'll be doing care support, nursing theory and practice, anatomy and physiology, modules like that. They'll be doing 8 modules in total, and they'll be required to achieve 5 distinctions across those 8 modules in order to be guaranteed their progression into TUS Athlone.
Very good. And the application?
Through Fetch courses. So if people, the easiest way actually to see all of the tertiary programmes is actually probably through the NTO website, the National Tertiary Office website, and there's links then from any course that somebody might be interested in out to Fetch courses, because every further education and training course in the country is up on Fetch courses, so it can sometimes be difficult to find things.
Yes.
Whereas if you go into the NTO website, all the tertiary programmes on offer around the country, they're the only ones on that website, and they will link you out to Fetch courses.
Very good. Will you just remind us of the other 2 opportunities, the applied sports science, for example?
The applied sports science. Look, the applied sports science and the digital arts are really, really exciting opportunities, because they are based on this idea of what we call a common year. So the students are actually doing the first year of their degree programme with us in Tipperary ETB, but we've chosen modules that are across 3 different degree areas. So what the students have is an opportunity to do a year with Tipperary ETB, but not choose what they need to specialise in or want to specialise in until the end of the year with us. And then they progress into year 2 of their degree in their specialist degree.
Very good. So they're certain at that point where they want to go with
correct.
this.
So if we take the applied sports science, for example, they'll be doing modules across strength and conditioning, sport and exercise nutrition, and performance technology. So they'll get a feel for all of those 3 degrees in the year with us. They'll decide which one they're most drawn to, and then they'll progress into year 2 of their degree in TUS Thurles in year 2. So both the Applied Sports Science and the Digital Arts programmes are in conjunction with TUS again. We're very, very lucky to be working with them. And the Digital Arts is in Clonmel, and it's the same idea, a common year. They'll be doing modules across digital animation, game art and design, and visual effects for film, TV and animation.
And again, in terms of application, the same source?
Yes, through the NTO website, exactly. All applicants for the 4 tertiary degrees are invited for interview. And that's kind of, so, you know, we say all the time it's not based on CAO points, so it's based on them demonstrating that they're suitable for the programme. And we'll be running those interviews, some of them this side of the summer, and then later on when the Leaving Cert results are published in late August.
Very good. And the catchment area, Jenny, what is the story?
Yeah, look, a big part of offering tertiary programmes locally is to allow people who don't necessarily want to move away from their locality. So people, can stay in Tipperary if they want. But equally, we will take applicants from all over the country. I know certainly for the primary teaching, there's interest from all over the country already. So we would love people from Tipperary to seriously look at this as an option. But equally, people from outside the catchment area are more than welcome to apply.
And as with the digital arts and the applied sports science, when you go into a second year of doing that, do you learn along the way and fine-tune? Is that part of it? Do you fine-tune the courses? And
both the digital arts and the applied sports science are the TUS degree programme. So the year that the students are with us, we are teaching their degree programme. But certainly, all programmes in FE and AHE would be regularly reviewed to make sure they continue to be fit for purpose and that they're moving with developments in technology, in legislation and so on, and would be tweaked. That would be part and parcel of what I'd say any educator would be doing, to be honest.
Very good. And when you look to the future then, and the development of the tertiary degrees and that, Jenny, what are you looking to?
Oh gosh, well personally I'd love to look at something in the construction area.
Would you?
I really would.
That be brilliant?
It would be amazing. There's some fantastic construction courses in TUS in Moylish. That would be something I'd have a huge interest in. It's really about, because the ETB needs to collaborate with a higher education institution, it's all about both organisations seeing a need at the same time.
Yes.
But for the moment, to be honest, the focus has been all about getting the mental health nursing and the primary teaching up and running for September. And then I'll start thinking about September 2027. There's only so much I can have going on in my brain at any time.
Absolutely. But I was talking to Dr. Harmon earlier on. I was just saying, I'm so jealous of this. I wish these opportunities were there back in the day.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I mean, look, we have Leaving Cert in our house this year, and I do think it is amazing the different options that are there. Back in my time, it was kind of the CAO or you worked. Whereas now there's so many routes. So, you know, there is the CAO route that'll be fit for purpose for loads of people. There's the tertiary route. Some will do a PLC, some will do an apprenticeship, some might do a part-time programme and work. There is definitely something for everybody. It's just to decide where you want to get to and then work out the pathway, isn't it really?
All right, very good indeed. And just again, and I know we're putting this out there quite a lot, but in terms of application, again, you think the NTO is the best?
Yes, if you go to nto.ie and click on the courses link, they're sorted.
All right, great to see you again, Jenny.
You too, thanks so much.
Thanks very much indeed. We are live from Nenagh today, from the Tipperary FET College here on Kenyon Street in Nenagh. And news and information is on the way.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon, main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today, and we are coming to you live from the FET College here on Kenyon Street in Nenagh, and glad to be joined now by Deputy Alan Kelly. Good morning to you, Alan, and you come bearing gifts.
I had to bring the most fabulous cheesecake, Fran, for yourself and all your colleagues, and indeed hopefully we'll give some out to Les and the ETB here. From the Country Market, which is, I go in almost every Friday, which is in the new Institute in Nenagh. And I mean, that's €7, friend. What value?
I know.
The quality is amazing.
Delicious.
So enjoy it later. They do everything from flowers to brown bread to cakes to quiches to you name it. So big shout out to them because I love the produce.
Well, fair play to them. We're here at Tipperary FET College on Kenyon Street, Alan, and we were talking there off air about some of the courses available here and what they're doing here. It's fantastic. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, fair play to Claudia Kelly and all the team here as well, because the amount of different courses now available and the new pathways for students to come through here. Obviously, now with teaching that's an incredible story. The fact that you can go and do it through here, and digital media, mental health, sports science. So very diverse and lots of different programs. So I would encourage everybody, because it's so local, encourage everybody to look at their options. It's your pathway in life as regards your education and career isn't always the one that you think is going to go in one direction. It can go in a different direction. You can go through here now to do many of the courses that maybe others think they have to go straight through college or something like that. So the very diverse nature of the amount of courses here really should be looked into by many, many different people, who are, not just, after school, but people maybe later on in life who want to maybe change careers as well.
And I was making the point earlier on, but I mean, back in our day, there was only one way to college, and that was the old points thing. And,
I had to get my 17 pints, was it? Or whatever it was, I can't remember. 375 pints, that was it. My brother was 17. 375 pints to go and do arts in UCC, and I got 375 exactly. It's great.
Very good. Lots of stuff I want to go through with you. Housing, can we begin on housing and those units for social housing? When are they available?
So we've Nenagh per capita is, I'd say, building more houses than any town in the whole of Ireland, which is an incredible statement. People can see on Drummond Road the houses that are going up, which are absolutely going up at a speed no one's ever seen. It's amazing the work that's going on there with Quantum, and I'm talking to them every couple of days. I want to compliment them. And those houses are going to come to market very soon. Michael Martin is dealing with them. So I get a huge amount of inquiries about them. So, there'll be information coming on that very soon. Also then we have the White Box, who are doing all the units, private, public, social housing, affordable housing. We're going to have two affordable schemes, one in Quantum, one in Quantum and Drum Road, one with White Box up in Tyrone. But the 67 houses from White Box up behind the hospital that are social houses, they're more or less complete and will be handed over to Respond. I expect the Respond Housing Agency very soon, and will be available soon after that then for the likes of, obviously people who need social housing, and also on choice-based letting, some will be put up, I expect. So that's coming down the road very, very, very quick, because they have huge development going on out there. And I want to thank both of them for, coming to Nenagh. I worked very closely with them with a lot of issues to get over when it came to water, electricity and everything else, but we got there. So I want to thank them. And there's a number of other other sites going on around the town as well. And, just for people's information, I expect there'll be meetings going on in the next few weeks. I expect that we're going to be announcing more large-scale developments of housing in Nenagh on top of what's already here. And that is something that, is in the pipeline I've been working on for years, in fact. So, it's great news. I have to say, Fran, we need them badly, because I'm at the point of exhaustion, along with, we had a meeting, myself, Chicken, Louise, Fiona, yesterday for 2 hours. We spent an hour talking about housing. I've never ever seen, I've never seen the crisis in housing.
But the numbers are up, though, in fairness, aren't they?
Oh, the numbers are up. I mean, Nenagh, to be honest with you,
but even nationally,
I've worked very hard in Nenagh, but and around the county, there's good stuff going on. But yeah, numbers are up. But the fact is that the amount of people looking for housing is the most I have ever seen. I'm going from here to do a clinic for hours, Fran, and the number one topic is housing. And in many cases, some very difficult and sad cases, people in really difficult circumstances. I've really sad cases in relation to situations where somebody has passed away suddenly and the income is gone. A sad case in relation to people with disabilities, elderly people, people living alone, or who were living alone, who are now in emergency accommodation. The changes in relation to the rental law with landlords has had a dramatic impact, Fran. People who are, 1, 2, 3 house landlords have given a lot of notices to quit, and those people are coming into my office. So all the houses that we're building in Nenagh, which are, social housing, will hit a nice amount of those issues, hopefully. And particularly the ones up in Tiowan, we also have houses for couples, single people with disabilities, which is great, wheelchair accessible and all of that. So hopefully that will hit and deal with a nice bit of the list, but it's not going to deal with everyone. The amount of people who are going to look for these houses is phenomenal, friend. It's phenomenal. We could multiply by 5 and still fill them all. So it's good news, but there's so many people looking for housing. It's very difficult to give people, everyone, the satisfaction and service that I try to do.
What do you make of that proposal to grant planning exemptions to the building of modular homes in the back gardens and stuff? Do you go along with that?
In principle, I'm in favour of it. But we just need to be careful that the government don't see this as a solution to the housing crisis.
Well, I don't even think they're going to count it in the numbers.
No, they can't count it in the numbers. And the other thing is, I in principle, I think it's a good idea, but I just also, you need to, make sure that it's, from a rental point of view, that, there has to be rules around, when these are rented out, if they're rented out, there has to be rules around that in relation to how people are treated, PRTB and all of that,
Right, but there are rules around it. There are rules. It has to be owner-occupied on the main house on the side.
Yeah, but you'd worry in case there's going to be subletting going on there again, and how that would be managed, because that certainly would have to be tightened up. But in principle, I believe anything that helps in relation to the housing crisis. I'm so delighted that our county development plan, as regards planning, as regards zoning, it's been changed. We're looking to rezone more land. Totally necessary. I would encourage everyone to look at the plan that's been put in place and make their submissions, because we need more houses built, we need more zoning, and we need more infrastructure as well.
And speaking of accommodation, the government to phase out tourist and commercial accommodation housing. Up to 16,000 people from Ukraine will be affected by that. The Justice Minister securing the cabinet agreement on that plan. Do I gather Labour is against that?
Well, I think it's just being proportionate. I have to be honest with you. The majority of the people I've met from Ukraine are working, and we need people. I mean, we have net migration in here.
But is that not the point, that some of them are working, but they're also availing of this subsidised accommodation?
I think from that point of view, friend, I suppose that would need to be looked at. There are people who have come here who are in vulnerable situations, who have had disabilities. I think nobody listening to this programme will have any issue with them. Those people being...
and they will. The government will continue to look after those people.
So I suppose in a way you look at how this has been managed, and there's a phasing out over a period of time. But I just think we just need to be sensitive to those who have other issues who've come into this country from Ukraine. However, the ones that are working, can make their contribution and can pay their way. And I think that in that scenario, we need to kind of think of those people differently. I just would be a bit concerned about the amount of people who are going to end up potentially looking for housing. Now,
and that's the problem, isn't it?
And that's going to have, so there's going to be basically a cliff edge where there's going to be, so they have international protection because of the war. This is an EU decision, and they are now going to be looking for housing like everyone else. So, that brings us back to our first conversation.
And what do you make of people being offered a financial settlement that they might take and go back home?
Well, I suppose if it means that if they want to go home and they can go home, if it's a means by which they do go home, then I'd be concerned a little bit about the figures being talked about in relation to that. But in principle, if it means that they are going home to a stable situation, I wouldn't have a massive difficulty with that as long as the figures are reasonable.
What do you make of the change in language and the change in tack? Particularly, I've been hearing Simon Harris over the last while where this is concerned. I mean, at one stage we were very proud of what we were doing here.
4 years ago, sure. I mean, there was huge support for Ukraine. Obviously, circumstances have changed. That is, I suppose, human nature. People develop other views and they develop other concerns. They look at how money's been spent, and I understand all of that.
Do by-elections play a part in the rhetoric?
I was just coming to that. I do think there is still huge support for Ukraine because they're fighting against they're fighting a war against a country that's behaved in an absolutely disgraceful way. The way in which I mean, we all know about sovereignty being invaded. We all know about no country knows more about it than us. So, in principle, I think lots of people are in general supportive of Ukraine. But there is a rattling up of a language and a narrative when it comes to migration, when it comes to Ukraine, which I find very concerning. And when you've got by-elections coming on, or when you need to divert from the cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, the children's hospital and everything, you'll see that this gets dialed up again. And it feeds a level of extremism which I don't like, and I believe that politicians, particularly government politicians, and Sinn Féin, by the way, I think that they all need to tone it down and change that style, because you know, it does feed into an online kind of campaigning that I find very unsettling, because at the end of the day, we need people coming into this country to feel safe. We need workers. Our health service, our hospitality service, our service industry literally would collapse. This country would collapse if we didn't have those workers coming in here. I'm dealing with some issues for people who need care at the moment, and without the workers who are coming in from outside the country to provide care in this country, our health services would literally collapse. So we need to just balance things and be proportionate. I get very concerned about language sometimes that we use, and particularly when you're coming up to elections.
But where real politic is concerned, should Labour Party have a think about this? Because in the most recent poll, you're not benefiting from the lack of support that the government is not enjoying at the moment. I
suppose at the end of the day, Fran, you have to have principles, and you have to have what you believe in, and you know, you have to work to convince people, and you have to work on the ground. I wouldn't say that that's the reason why we're at that level in the polls. But you have to stand up for what you believe in, and that's what I believe in.
You're the chair of the Committee on Arts, Communications, Culture and Sport. I'd love your take on the Minister for Communications, Patrick O'Donovan, who said on this programme and other programmes, he spoke about, you know, looking to RTE and an examination of how they covered the protests, because he wasn't happy with that. He was going to ask Commission Naman to look into that. He admitted afterwards he made a hames of it.
He completely wrote back in it.
What did you make?
I thought it was very worrying. We were going to discuss it in our committee, but he did row back and said he made a hames of it. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt, I suppose. Do you know what I'd really like Minister O'Donovan to do, though? I'd really like him to speak to Commissioner Mann about a 2-year 67% increase in the broadcast in the levy for independent radio broadcasters like yourselves. Huge. And I'm not saying that just because I'm on here. I'm going to tell you straight out, our committee has decided to bring in Commissioner Mann in relation to this. Because
just for listeners, this levy will be used to pay for Commission Naman.
Yes, so which is a huge organisation, and they have a job to do, and they're independent and all of that. But like a 67% increase in 2 years by a regulator on anyone would be catastrophic. But like when you're talking about the radios, and I know the margins are tight, it's a small team, do massive public service, huge supporter, and like you can understand from time to time small increases, but 67% in 2 years from any regulatory body in relation to a sector, like that needs to be looked into. So I'd like him to call in them and have a chat with them, because I'm telling you straight out here, and this probably isn't public yet, is that our committee is bringing them in a few weeks' time, and we're going to be talking to them about it, because I can't understand it, and I think it's unacceptable.
Interesting. A couple of other things. You raised concerns over the number of veterinary practices in the country being taken over by corporate entities. Would you just tease that out for me?
Yeah, I spoke with Jackie Cahill, a former colleague here, retired, and it's great to meet him a couple of times recently. He's looking well, and fair play to him. He came to me to talk, myself and Robert Dunne, who's our spokesperson in agriculture, to talk about this bill that he, in fairness, brought all the way through, had gone to committee stage, had gone past second stage, and he asked me to advocate and work with him on it, and I am, because he's absolutely correct. What's going on here in Ireland now as regards corporate bodies buying up veterinary practices is going to actually be horrendous over a number of years if this happens. what will happen is that people who are listening to this show, farmers, individual pet owners, everybody's affected here equally. It's not a rural thing, it's an urban thing as well. In fact, I think urban practices will probably go first because there's more money in it. They'll basically jack up the prices. They'll change the times they're available. Their out-of-hour services will collapse. And you'll have animal welfare issues as well. Because when it's a corporate entity and it's not a veterinary practitioner who owns it, the rules will change. And it's happened in the UK. And in the UK, prices have gone through the roof. Access to vets has changed. Out of hours has changed. Everything that Jackie, in fairness, in the past has warned about. And I've spoken to people in the vets. I've spoken to people who are really concerned about it. It's happened in a number of areas in Ireland already. And we need to cut this off straight away and say that all veterinary practices in Ireland should be owned and run by veterinary practitioners. Full stop. We cannot allow this to happen, because if it does, we will end up in a very dangerous situation. In Britain, they're trying to reverse it. And this is an urban thing as well, because people who are going to bring their pets in, they won't be able to bring them in at the same times, they won't have the outdoor services, all of that sort of stuff will change, and it's gradual erosion. Now, why Minister McConnell in the past Dáil, or Minister Hayden in the current Dáil, can't see this is beyond me. So, I've built up a bit of a coalition, working with Jackie, working with colleagues in Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, going across to independence, and there I said we'll be talking to Sinn Féin to try and get all-party agreement on this, that this has to be done. I raised it with the Taoiseach, and he said he's going to look at it. I know that the Agricultural Committee within Fianna Fáil themselves are very supportive. I've spoken to members of the Agricultural Committee and the Oireachtas, all very supportive. I say this is unanimous, because it's just common sense that we can't allow this to happen. And I'd like to see this done quickly.
Speaking of agri, it's kind of gone under the radar, but today Mercosur provisionally is in place.
Yeah. It's just gone under the radar. It's just, yeah, absolutely.
It's surprising.
May Day, as it's May Day, I just want to wish happy May Day to all the workers across Tipperary, because it's Labour Day, it's May Day, so I didn't want to let it pass.
And just before I let you go, I was asked to ask you about the Nenagh military barracks. Yeah. Do you have an update on that?
Yeah, Fran, I think this is another one. Nenagh at the moment. Nenagh's one of the best towns in Ireland. It's doing very well. But the barracks is an issue that's gone on a long time, and it's a nettle that needs to be grasped. Now, I've been raising this for years. Ultimately, it's a protected structure. It's a protected structure that's absolutely fallen down. It's dangerous, right? So I've had a meeting with Simon Harris when he was Minister for Defence on this. We had, in fairness, Ryan O'Mara was at the meeting, we had the council at the meeting and everything. And we need to grasp this nettle once and for all. Either the state is going to find a use for this and put in 25 or 30 million into it, right? Or else, obviously, it's going to have to be in some way demolished, and we can use it for housing or use it for whatever we decide. But in the interim, working with the department, working with Nenagh CBS schools, primary and secondary school. I went to school in both of them. They're landlocked. So we're trying to see if we can get a certain amount of the land available to them, and the department are working on that. There's title issues there as well, to see if we can get some land for them so they can expand. But ultimately, we need to make a decision on this. The Department of Defence, on a number of occasions, wrote to me, told me, and everything, and said, we'll give it to the council. They even said, we'll give it to the council for €1. But to be fair, you can see the council's point of view. If they take it straight away, they have the maintenance costs, and that will affect everything else, roads, footpaths, you name it. So, we do need a decision on this. I'm going to be talking to the Department of Defence again very soon on it. We need a plan. It's going to take, 5, 7, 10 years, but we need a plan. This can't go on. It just can't go on. It's not accepted. There's great history, and massive into the history of the barracks. There's great history there.
But is that not part of the issue, that it was a British military barracks?
But there was just lots of history there. I mean, Seamus O'Brien on Facebook always has all the pictures from years ago up on my favourite Facebook page, by the way, Seamus O'Brien's page on Nenagh, and the characters down through the years in history, the FCA up there, and the various different visits by ministers from the defence and everything like like that. But the decision has to be made, Fran. It just has to be made, and I'm going to be determined to get it made. So, Fran, enjoy the cheesecake. I want to report on it afterwards. And
I'm going to steal it away on everybody else. Good to see you today. Thanks for your time.
Much.
Thank you. Deputy Alan Kelly with us this morning. We are live from Kenyon Street in Nenagh. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tip Today, and just in case you've just joined us, we are live from Tipperary FET College on Kenyon Street in Nenagh, one of 20 FET centres right across the county. I'm glad to be joined now by Kathleen Grimes, who is recruitment officer, and Olivia Kennedy Murphy is with us, who might talk to us over the course of the next few minutes. You wouldn't know, but Kathleen, can I go to you first of all? You're going to home in on what's available in Tipperary, is that it?
Well, I'm going to home in really around Nenagh and then the surrounding areas, because I don't think you'd have the time if I was to go through everything that was on in Tipperary.
Probably not. So the wide range of courses available around the Nenagh area then?
Yeah, so most of our courses are certified courses. They run from level 1 to level 6 on the national framework, but there's also non-certified courses that run in Nenagh and the surrounding areas. So, Tipperary FET College in Nenagh is in 3 locations. It's in Kenyon Street, it's in Drummond Street, Nenagh College, and it's also up in Tyrone. So in the Drummond Street one, we'd have a lot of level 5 full-time courses. So
right. Just explain for people who mightn't be too sure about the levels. Level 5 is what, Kathy?
Level 5 on the national framework would be on par with a leaving cert.
Yes.
So level 4, level 5 are on par with a leaving cert. Level 3, we'd be talking about junior cert. And then you'll be talking about levels a bit lower than that, which would be learning basic computers, literacy, and then you have non-certified courses that community education run.
Yes.
And we also go up to level 6, which is in between the leaving cert and the level 7 in higher education.
So is that like a diploma level, is it?
No, it's a QQI level 6, which, it's kind of another stepping stone towards higher education.
Yes.
But it's courses in its own sense as well. Not everything is stepping stone for higher education. It's for upskilling people who are working and people who aren't working. Yeah. And people want to change jobs, so they will be looking for a course that suits their needs.
All right. If people want to find out more about this, what's the easiest way to do that in terms of what is available to them?
Well, we have the admissions office where I work, and this is a central hub for all inquiries.
Yes.
So it makes it a lot more accessible to people and even easier to navigate. It's just one phone number, which is 067 71001, and you ring that number and we will find out the information you're looking for. And if we ask what courses people are looking for, and we'll find out the entry requirements, where they're on.
Yes.
And if even, we work closely with adult guidance. So if somebody really just doesn't know what they want and needs to sit down and talk to somebody, we will refer them to adult guidance. And there's one in Clonmel, there's somebody in the adult guidance in Clonmel and in Nenagh. So across the county.
And the eligibility then, what do people need before they can benefit from some of these courses?
Well, I have to admit there's a variety of eligibility criteria. But so if you were going into a level 5, generally it would be expected maybe that you had a level 4. But even if people had the level 4, it could be a discussion around their life skills. So you work
with people, Kathleen?
We work with people, yes. It's sometimes on a one-to-one basis. Some other courses, if it's a driving course, there is specifics because you have to have a certain driver's licence. And so some are more specific. So there isn't a general, I could say, eligibility across all courses.
But have the conversation.
Have the conversation, people. That's what we're there for. There's a great team there in the admissions office, and we will speak to everybody and we'll tease it out and see what they need and what they're looking for.
Yeah, Olivia, as education officer, the people you see coming through the door. It must be very heartening to see them benefiting from what's on offer here.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose the benefits are huge for the individuals who come through here. Great, even confidence building.
Yeah.
Huge confidence building, working with the groups and making your first step. It's fantastic to see what happens and how they can go out a changed person. For the most part, they go out a changed person. And there are such opportunities, huge opportunities here. And Kathleen has mentioned levels 1 to 6. And I suppose this morning then we were talking about all the tertiary and the new programmes there as well. And the opportunities there are there for people and the benefits that they get out of that.
And the opportunities are growing all of the time. That's
growing
what I noticed,
every day.
Great,
and Kathleen again mentioned, I suppose, community education as well, where they're out in small communities, out in all the little halls and around the county. There are courses out there as well, and that can be a first step for many as well.
I couldn't believe, Kathleen, when I saw 20 centres around the county. It's great, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So you're never too far from any centre, wherever you live in Tipperary.
Yeah.
You'll find a centre within distance.
It's very good. And of course, working with the colleges then, I mean, that adds so much to the opportunities, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. With the tertiary courses, it opens up pathways that were never there.
Yeah, very good. So, as I say, if people want to find out more then?
Well, admissions office, 067 71001. Give us a ring and we'll be there. We'll answer the phone and take all queries.
And just to make sure people are comfortable, Olivia, I mean, people will be welcomed, won't they? And the queries will be welcomed.
Oh, the queries have great staff there in the office, and great to answer what we can. If we don't, we'll find the answer and get back to you. Also, our website as well is Tipperary ETB. Website is another place you can get a lot of information. FET courses, again, www.fetchcourses.ie. You can get a lot of information there on the courses. So, and of course the staff are very welcoming, and it's great support there. And Kathleen mentioned the guidance. We have guidance officers, we have information officers, we have recruitment officers, we have...
oh, that's great. So people might take on a particular course, but they're supported throughout that course.
They're supported. There's great support within the further ed.
Which is great.
Yeah, there's great support there.
Kathleen, thank you very much indeed. And Olivia, I'm delighted you decided to speak to us. Thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Brad.
Lovely to see you both, and thank you. We'll take a break. We're back with gardening in just a few moments' time.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938-007. Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon, now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
A bit of housekeeping in on my phone. If you're into dancing, John Fitzpatrick from Clonmore was telling me, Fitzpatrick's country club in Clonmore, he was telling me that Fergal McConnell is there along with his band on Sunday night from 9 o'clock for dancing. And Pat from the Round Hill Bar on the old Limerick Nenagh Road there was telling me that tomorrow night Colin Kenny is going to be there, and on Sunday night Michael Cahill will be playing for dancing. And Paddy, the other Paddy, was on to me from Cashel to say somebody called Fran and Muriel will be there at Hollandafela tonight. So there you go. It's time to talk all about gardening, and delighted to be joined as usual by Ultan Nesbit from Arrabawn. Just up the road, a handy one for you today, Ultan.
Yeah, I tell you, it is great.
Well, you're very welcome. You came with the most beautiful, again, the selection of flowers, and Owen was very impressed. He thought they were for him. So, you know, what have you got in front of you there?
Well, this is a fantastic time of year. We have all the trees are coming into flower now, so I love to have a selection of trees in the garden that give great colour. So, I mean, really, this is one of the best times of year for that.
Yes.
So there's a good selection of trees that will give you a magnificent scent and colour and good vibrancy in the garden. So here is just a kind of I have these growing along the hedge, in the hedgerow, and they're lovely kind of wild flowers that have been there for a long time. Is the lovely lilacs, and I love the scent of the lilac. It's very, very strong. It's actually kind of intoxicating, really.
Yeah.
It's so strong. But you can get the lilacs in several colours as well. There's lovely Madame Le Mans, which is a lovely white lilac as well. or you can get the lovely deep purple ones as well, almost blue in colour. But this one here is the lilac colour, and again, it's quite an easy one to grow. The thing about lilacs as well, they tend to flower on second-year-old wood, so it's very important to allow them to have that vegetative growth for the year, and then for don't be pruning them every year. Is what I mean to say. So you really need to have them flowering on second-year-old wood, and they do go up to about 12 to 15 foot high, so they're not a small tree. So they get to a nice size. But again, the lovely waft from them are fantastic. Another one that's growing in the hedgerow as well that I have is a lovely Aeschylus or horse chestnut. And this has a quite lovely, almost like candlesticks. You'll see the lovely big tree, about 20 to 30 foot high actually, with a lovely conical shape to it. And then it has these lovely white flowers like candlesticks on it. There's one called Bonatti, Aeschylus Bonatti, which has the lovely pink or red flowers on it as well, which are particularly good as well. A much more compact tree actually, the Bonatti Aeschylus or horse chestnut. Again, that will have the lovely fruits on it afterwards as well. And of course mine are self-seeding everywhere, so I always can lift and divide them and put them along the hedgerow again. Other trees that are fantastic really are the simple thing is the willow. And I love the willow with the lovely catkins.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's lovely little catkins on it.
Yeah.
And you see, the thing about willow, it's quite an easy one to grow. Even if you break a branch off it and stick it into the ground, it will grow, it will root.
Yeah.
So you could have a lovely hedge of willow. And then, again, they come in a variety of colours. You can have the lovely red stems or the golden
And
stems.
do they droop eventually?
Yeah, you can get one called Tristan, which is lovely yellow weeping. You often see it along rivers and stuff like that. A lovely drooping habit to it, and particularly nice because that has that lovely golden leaf that comes on it.
Yes,
as well.
it was very traditional to have that in gardens.
You often find a lot of that. What is it? Van Gogh or some of the artists would have them beside a lake, drooping down, and they're particularly good. They're very lovely for large estates actually, or if you have plenty of room for them because they have quite a wide growth habit to them. But willows are very good for the bees at this time of the year because they come into flower at this time. The bees is usually you'll hear the willow itself humming with the bees on it, and again of course with the horse chestnut coming into flower as well, and of course the lilacs as well. But really what's particularly nice I love at this time of the year, and it's a very Irish thing I think, it's always like with the magic of the fairies and things like that, are the lovely hawthorn. And the hawthorn bush or the whitethorn is particularly good, and I love even the shape of it.
Yes.
You often have in the west coast of Ireland that kind of windswept look on it, almost like a miniature bonsai you'd have. But it again with the whitethorn, it's particularly good at this time of the year. Massive flowers from it, and then there's a lovely scent off that in the evening time as well because there's such an amount of it. I mean, you'll have millions of flowers even on a tiny little twig like that. It will have just massive flowers from it, which is particularly good. But it also will have then in the autumn time you'll have that lovely red berries on it, which is very good for the birds. You often find the blackbirds or the thrushes or even migratory birds coming to harvest from the whitethorn, which is particularly good. And again, they're very good as a hedge or even as a singular tree. There's a lovely a variety called Paul Scarlet, which is a lovely kind of deep red to pink flower, Paul Scarlet, Crataegus monogyna Paul Scarlet, and it's lovely kind of mushroom size head on it, which is particularly nice and very good for if you have in a very windswept area where nothing else will grow. The whitethorn will grow quite happily in your garden. Other things that are coming into flower as well are the lovely cornices, the dogwoods. They're particularly good, or even the mountain ash. This is the soribus. It's nothing to do with the ash dieback or anything like that.
Yes.
So this is a different variety, and they're quite good. There's a lovely soribus aureolutescens, which is a lovely silver leaf on it, which is particularly nice. Even the wind blows, you'll get that lovely silver underleaf to it as well. But also at this time of the year, you'll have that lovely white a flower that comes out in it, almost like a rosette of flowers that comes from it. But then again, in the autumn time, you'll have the lovely red. You can get it in red, yellow, or orange berries on it. So there's lovely Joseph's Rock, which is kind of a nice one as well. Particularly good in the autumn time for autumn colour. And I like trees that have colour throughout the year, really. So, I mean, like things, even like the cotoneaster trees, you'll have the lovely white flowers at this time of the year, and then you'll have the red berries in the autumn time, but then you'll have the foliage right through the winter as well. So, I mean, there's lovely trees that are coming into flower and that have been in flower as well, like lovely cherry trees, for instance, were magnificent. Yeah, I'm talking about the wild cherry. There's a lovely white flower that comes out in that, and then you'll have the lovely edible cherries from it. Normally, if you don't net them early enough, the birds will devour them and get drunk on it. So really, you really have to net your cherry trees to save the fruit from them if you want to have your cherry with your cocktail.
Well, when I moved out to where I am now about 30 years ago, I remember the hawthorn was really prevalent wild in the hedges at that time. I don't see it as much now.
Yeah, it's a pity really, because the white at home now we would just have large hedges of it. We allow our hedges up, and you just have the magnificent flowers from it. And really, and I think any boundary fence or hedges really should be allowed to develop, because it takes, let's say, 10 or 20 years for a tree to flower and to flower well. So it's very important to allow your hedges up, especially at the boundaries. So you will have that magnificent colour in the springtime, going right into the autumn as well, with the whitethorn. And again, it's one that you can grow quite easily. You can buy them bare rooted. They're only about €1 each. And if you want a hedge of it, you just plant them 7 per metre. Or even what's lovely as well, you can kind of intertwine them.
I was going to ask you about that. Can you do that?
Yeah, you do a lovely effect with them, almost like a 45-degree angle. Lovely round top hedge, which is particularly nice. Very stock-proof as well. I mean, it's one of the best hedges that you can have. And I always think people should be encouraged to plant hedges that are native to Ireland, and the whitethorn is probably the number one.
That's for sure. I interrupted you. You were about to point out something else.
We have another tree that's coming into flower as well. It's a lovely stag's horn. It's more of an ornamental tree, really, but that's sumac is the common name of it. It says Rustifinia, and that has a lovely leaf on it. It's got an unusual leaf, really, very exotic looking, but it has this very unusual flower then as well. It's almost like a candlestick. That's up in it, a brown one at that. But again, I think they're actually edible, believe it or not. But really it's growing for that lovely shape to it. It has that lovely kind of horizontal shape to it, and then that brilliant long panicle of a leaf on it as well, which is particularly, it's very exotic looking. But then in the autumn time, brilliant red, oranges and golds from it as well, which is particularly nice. Now, the problem with the sumac is you don't prune it. If you do prune it, it will say, oh, I'm being attacked. It will tend to escape. And so it will resprout all over the garden. So you really want to make sure that you don't prune it too hard or be cruel to it, because it will start to resprout throughout your garden because it thinks it's been attacked.
We're here in a house of education, and you lectured on horticulture.
I did. I used to work in Multifarnham in Louth, and I used to teach students there, and I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. And in St Albans in Welling Garden City in North London as well, which I particularly enjoyed.
Yes. You want to be careful, you'll be roped in here now for a module or two. A listener says, my tulips have finished flowering. Should I cut them back now or leave the foliage to die naturally?
No, it is very important to cut back the tulip flowers, the flower stalk itself, and cut that right down to ground level. But allow the foliage to die back naturally as much as possible. And you do that to all your spring bulbs, really. Things like your tulips, your daffodils, and even the muscaria, the blue hyacinths.
There was a time when every single week we'd be hearing about moss on the lawn. I haven't heard about it for quite some time. So a listener says, my moss is taking over in the shady spots. How should I deal with this?
Yeah, well, really, there's several ways of skinning a cat. So with moss, and it is a big problem with all the rain that we've had over the winter and stuff like that. So really in the shady areas, it's very important, if it's on your lawn, is you use a thing called Mobacter. That's particularly good because an awful lot of people would use them you can use the Hygiene weed feeding muscular or even the sulphate of iron, but that turns it very, very black on you.
Yes.
And you have to rake out the thatch of it as much as possible and then reseed it. With the Mobacter, all you have to do is just do a dressing of the Mobacter over the lawn, and that will actually suppress your moss completely and feed your grass, so the grass kind of thickens up in those patchy areas.
Just spell that for me.
Mobactor.
Okay, and that is mixed with water.
No, it's just it's a granulated.
Okay.
So you just do a dressing of that over the lawn, just a dusting of it over it, and that will get rid of any moss that's in your lawn. It's very, very good to put into those kind of shaded areas where the moss tends to...
Take a final one for me, if you would, Ultan. My strawberry plants are flowering. Should I feed them now? And if so, what kind of fertiliser is best?
We have an actual organic strawberry feed.
Do you?
Which is specifically for strawberries. It's a high potash feed. Just about a capful into a gallon of water, actually. And water that always at the base of your strawberry plants and not onto the foliage, because you don't really want to scorch the flowers or the foliage on it. It's a good time to, because they're in full bloom now, a lot of the strawberries, is try and remove any of the excessive foliage that's on the strawberry plant as well, or even the old foliage at the very base of the plant, and put either straw or even hessian at either side of the plant, so that then the fruit remain clean. They're not sitting on the ground and getting mildew from the soil or anything like that. So keep the fruit off the ground, really.
Well, thanks once again for bringing in a gorgeous selection of flowers and plants. Really lovely. Ultan, thank you for that. Ultan Nesbit there from Arrabawn with us this morning, and we are live from Kenyon Street in Nenagh from the FET College here. News and information is coming up.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Welcome back to the final hour of Tip Today, and we are live from Kenyon Street in Nenagh, and we're here to talk about the 4 tertiary degree programmes on offer through Tipperary FET College, including 2 new courses indeed, launching in the academic year of kicking off in September. But it's great to be here this morning. We're learning so much as well. It's time for a Friday panel, and I'm glad to be joined by Teresa Collins, community activist, regular contributor to us, Imelda Walsh, indeed, former North Tipperary IFA chairperson. She's been on the panel more times than anybody else, I would imagine, over the years. And Thomas Conway, reporter for the Nenagh Guardian and our global news person as well, is with us. So good morning to you all, and thank you.
Morning, Fran.
Morning, Fran.
Before we get into the meat of what we're going to discuss, can we just get a word on what's happening here? Teresa, are you impressed with what's happening here in FET and the ETB and all the work that...
Very impressed, Fran, because through the CE scheme and through a fantastic lady, Helen Carroll, and Sean Creamer with the Portrue side of it, I'm involved with the GAA. Now, I took on the horticultural through FET here.
Oh, did you?
I did,
right.
and I took it on about maybe 5 years ago to do the horticultural up along, so I'm on the final component of that. I'm
Brilliant.
qualifying.
Brilliant.
So it has brought what I do through the tidy towns and everything. Fantastic place.
That's great. No, I didn't know that before I asked you about this. So
no, you
it's
didn't.
Great
No,
to know.
no.
Yeah, great stuff. Imelda, earlier on I was saying, not that I'm saying you're as old as me, but I wish these opportunities.
Maybe.
I wish these opportunities were there. What I needed them, I could have done with them.
It's absolutely fantastic, the work that's done here. I sit on the board of Tipp Development Company, and ETB have a representative, Owen Costello, sits on our board, and the amount of collaborations with Tipp Development Company and the ETB is phenomenal. Absolutely, the amount of work that's done, fantastic collaborations in relation to new arrivals and people. We say a lot of people in Roscrea, a lot of people in Newport, in Burscane, all those areas. Absolutely fantastic work, fantastic projects being done, and in relation to even coming to the table with new ideas and forging those good relationships, and that's how work gets done, by collaborating, and it's fantastic the amount of work that's going on.
And everybody's different, Thomas, in terms of how they want to progress their careers and the like. At one stage, the only option you had was the CAO and to try and get as many points as you possibly could. This gives opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it was wrong when the only option was the CAO. It's crucial that you have diverse pathways and that you have as many pathways as possible, because people are different. Fundamentally, they're different kinds of learners, different types of people, and it's brilliant. What the ETB is doing, what the Further Education College is doing is really, really crucial work. Yeah,
well, as I say, we're learning so much about the options here this morning, and they are vast indeed. Let us move then to the government phasing out tourist and commercial accommodation housing up to 16,000 people from Ukraine. The Justice Minister, Jim O'Callaghan, he secured a cabinet agreement on the plan. Now, it will apply, I understand, to those who arrived before March 2024, with exceptions for vulnerable cases. The rollout begins in August, over 6 months, with at least 3 months' notice for those affected. Amila, can I start with you with it? Are you surprised by this? Are you surprised by the change in language around this as well?
Surprised, maybe a little bit, Fran. I suppose the writing was on the wall since last September, when it was decided at European level in relation to bringing this to an end. We'll say that. So I suppose it was inevitable. It was going to happen sooner or later. How do I feel about it? I was thinking about this during the week when the discussions were on the radio, listening to Colin Brophy and listening to different speakers, even listening to Antónis, to Simon Harris speaking about it. I suppose in reality, Fran, we're at a point, how long can you support or continue to support somebody for? We're saying that, and a lot of fantastic work has been done in relation to supports. And I'm thinking then, on the other hand, of people of Irish origin that are here and that are struggling, and they feel that the same level of support hasn't been offered to them in relation to accommodation or in relation to, we have over 300,000 people in electricity arrears. And
Michael Murphy, I'm not sure if you were listening yesterday, Imelda, but Michael Murphy, Deputy Michael Murphy, he gave me a costing, and €3.5 billion it has cost us to support Ukraine over the past week. That was very commendable, but it's an awful lot of money. It is,
I actually remember, initially when it was announced that Ukrainians were coming to Ireland, and I was actually at a meeting, and a young guy at the meeting was saying that his family had a second home and they were offering it to Ukrainians. And we're just chatting, and I said, look, at people initially, because you all want to wrap your arms around everybody in times of war and everything else, but I said, as time goes on, it gets more difficult in relation to supporting it, because suddenly you have our own people, and I don't want this, discriminate against Ukrainians or against any new arrivals into the country, but there's only so much you can do. But when it gets to a situation where Irish people feel that they're being left aside, we'll say, in relation to homelessness, in relation to all of the supports others are getting, and they have anyone that came in 2022, they have been here over 4 years. They've got a lot of supports. They've got access to education and everything else.
Yes.
And
opportunities to work.
And opportunities to work and everything else. So I do think a time comes, you have to, we'll say, in that. But I do work, I look at, obviously, we'll say, in respect of where all those 16,000 people are going to go. Whether some of them will return to their own country or whether some of them are established enough to stand on their own 2 feet. Right. But you can't indefinitely continue.
Right, but you'd wonder how it will affect the housing issue, which
exactly, which is obviously a major
thing. Thomas, were you surprised at some of the language from the Taoiseach today? He said people living rent-free in state accommodation is not fair, too expensive, and damaging social cohesion.
Threats to social cohesion. Those were the words that really struck me.
Were you surprised at that?
Yeah, but he Fine Gael, I suppose, fundamentally is. It would style itself as a centre-right party. It would be a little bit harder on things like immigration and stuff like that. And I think Simon Harris has...
They've moved away from that, though, in recent years, haven't they?
They certainly have, yeah. But is Simon Harris trying to pivot back? Yeah. I mean, listeners will make up their own mind on that. But listen, I think as a short-term crisis response, it was necessary and valid. There is no doubt about that. I mean, Ukraine was invaded. What happened was horrendous. But in the long run, it probably was unsustainable, and I think now is probably the right time. Interesting, I was reading in the paper over the past couple of days, I don't think Ukrainians harbour much ill will towards Ireland for cutting off these supports. I think there is a general acknowledgement that we have gone above and beyond in our support of Ukraine. We took in an awful lot of them at the onset of the invasion initially. We've offered them support, and if it's a thing that it is unfair, if Ukrainians are living, I suppose, rent-free or to put it that way, I mean, fairness, the basic principle of fairness has to be respected. So I would be vocal in my support of Ukraine, but, I think it was a short-term measure.
And am I cynical if I point out that we have by-elections on the way?
Yeah, well, that's another factor in Dublin Central and Galway, and I think there will be political considerations at the heart of this as well. I mean, I listened to Colin Brophy during the week. I was looking at Jim O'Callaghan and... there is, domestic political considerations here as well. Yeah,
Minister Brown, though, coming out with concerns about the effect it will have on housing.
It's not going to solve the housing crisis, Well,
in fact, will it make it worse? Because these people are going to come out now and they're going to be looking for accommodation now.
Yeah, and I mean, the housing crisis pre-existed the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and that's worth noting as well. The housing crisis is probably systemic, is the way I would describe it at this point. So certainly, we can't blame Ukraine for our troubles in that regard.
Teresa, what are you making of this?
Well, I'll go back, I suppose, when they came first. It was a 2-year plan, if I remember right. I think that they were given for them to come and they'd go back. We were fantastic as Ireland goes. We did our bit. But I think it's the government now playing with fire. They've seen how the Irish people stood up with protests. They've seen that we're actually opening up and saying we're not putting up with a lot of things anymore. Now, Liam Brown made a fantastic, yesterday he said, if we to say that 4 years ago, we'd be called racist. Yes. And I admit I probably would be called racist. At the time, I think I talked to you, Fran, and I asked him to say, would you not do so many, keep them for 2 years, bring in some more then if necessary, not to be overcrowded. Manage it in a correct way. In one sense, I'm glad to see something being done, because definitely our own Irish people is the ones that suffering here. House-wise, doctor-wise, health-wise, everything. And I mean, even it has been said that the doctors are running short because age-wise group, there's nothing there, and you go to get an appointment with a doctor 3 to 4 weeks if you can get in at that. I mean, they brought in a lot of people, never put plans in place for them people bought in. They never put a way through for them. They never put into the villages. They never put extra curriculum for them. They're throwing a lot of people in on the Irish at once. Yes. And that's where I think people are finding the negative on it.
There's also the point being made, Imelda, that, concerns that the IPAS system will come under pressure now from the Ukrainians once the temporary protection is withdrawn, that they might look to IPAS for a way of protection. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, so that's going to add
further numbers
to
on that.
Exactly. Just talking about the IPAS, and I was just thinking there as Teresa was speaking in relation to what they want to do. Like, like the Dundrum, have more people in an area from outside the area than the actual natural inhabitants of that area. And that's wrong. I don't think government actually ever thought it through in respect of, like, you can't put people into ghettos. At the end of the day, these are human beings we're talking about, and there's only so much anybody can do. And if you're going to bring people in and support them, well, then you have to have all the supports in place that are necessary, and we don't have them. Well, we didn't have them
way before we had any iPass or any Ukraines. I'm just thinking back.
It's important to remember that, isn't it?
I'm just thinking back, like 25 years ago, I remember taking my father into Limerick Hospital on a Sunday evening with shingles around his eye, and being there for all through the night before he was actually seen. And that's a quarter of a century ago. So, like, these problems, they just haven't happened. And sometimes, in our anger in respect of the lack of supports and the lack of access to services and housing and all of that, that sometimes as people we can blame the wrong people in relation to the problem. This problem is a government blamed.
Well, I heard Micheál Martin do that recently, where the homelessness figures were concerned, and saying that, look at the amount of people who've come into the country and they're playing into this figure.
Exactly, and that's him just playing with numbers in relation to divert around from their failings as a government and previous governments in respect of this. And it's like the housing crisis. The housing crisis didn't happen overnight. This is systemic for many, many decades in relation to not putting the infrastructures in place, not putting supports in place, whether it's water, whether it's sewers, whatever it is, in relation to it. So it's far too simplistic to say because we have an iPass situation, because we have a Ukrainian situation, that this is our problem. Our problem goes back way before that.
We need to get real.
And exactly.
Yeah, the parties of the left, Thomas, largely are taking issue with this. I was speaking to Alan Kelly earlier on. I was pointing out that his party, Ivana Bacik, came out and spoke about this. They have some issues with this.
Yeah, I heard Jed Nash, who's the Labour spokesperson, speaking about it. Yeah, I probably have to disagree personally. I can see where they're coming from, of course. The fact that Ukraine was invaded and the fact that, this was a huge crisis just foisted upon their country. It's understandable that, Ukrainians would have grievances, and are they going to be thrown out now? You raise a good point in relation to the iPass centres.
Yes.
The question is, where do people go? But many of these Ukrainians...
Well, they could seek international protection, could they not, Thomas?
Yeah, but it's definitely not a desirable option. Our international protectors...
Of course. But I'm just saying it could be, and that would impose other problems then.
And it goes back to the structural issues that, we've spoken about, that have been spoken about on this programme. But I can understand the parties to the left, and I can understand their objections to this, but I think to a certain extent we need to toughen up our stance on things like immigration.
And that's the point. In terms of Simon Harris's language, is that very deliberate language?
Oh, I think it is. I think certainly. I think it's political. He is sending out a message here, a message that Ireland is willing to respond and is a compassionate country, but, isn't going to just welcome people in ad infinitum.
And before we leave it, how do you feel about that issue that we would pay Ukrainian people to go back home?
I'm looking at it, maybe some of them do want to go back home, but I never, as Irish, when we asked to come back out of England, were we paid? Or come back out of any country, are we paid? I put that to them. Now, again, I'm going to back on the iPass centres. You've got to look at who made the money on the iPass centres, the owners, the hoteliers. They all made a fortune out of that.
Profiteering.
Yeah. And they're our own Irish that made that profiteering, and we can take the blame on that. Yeah. And I think myself that was total wrong. To take a hotel, and I'll take Racket Hall in Roscrea now myself, to take the local hotel out of the county where they had Roscrea, cancelled weddings, cancelled communions, to put these people in iPass centres, which was wrong because it took the only thing they had, a hotel in a county.
Right, and that happened all over the country.
It happened all over the country, but I'm just giving that as an example locally.
But you're right, it's interesting about the profiteering, though, to the tune of $3.5 billion, if I'm right in terms of what Michael said to me yesterday. It's enormous sums of money, isn't it?
But, Fran, you say to yourself, this is a country then, they're rising the electricity, they're rising the bills, and we're the taxpayers paying it. So you say to yourself, how come some can racketeer the way they are racketeering and getting away with it, and here's we footing the bill of it. It doesn't add up. I think the government really and truly needs to go back on their financial side and look at where all the investments or monies or what way they're coming and what way they're doing. As I say, I think there's money being squandered left, right and centre in the government different areas.
I wonder how relevant it is, just finally, Milla, before we leave the topic, I wonder how relevant it is because, I was talking to several people, including Alan Kelly earlier on. You know, a lot of these places are winding down anyway in terms of providing accommodation.
Yeah, you know, exactly. I suppose, look, it has to happen in respect of it, we'll say that. But I'm just thinking there in relation to Simon Harrison, I suppose, thinking back in his language in relation to the presidential election and the debates afterwards. And I remember listening to David Quinn and Rhys Dean, all those people, that speaking about Fine Gael and the way that they had moved so far left from where they would have been on the political spectrum, 100%. So I say would say their gene pool and their supporters, I would imagine they're coming under a lot of pressure in respect of all of this. We'll say that, like, you know, but like we don't end up in a situation with iPass centres. Like, to me, it's even going back to the time of COVID initially, and we were hearing about the hotbeds and people and all of this in the situation in Kerry and other places. I think at the end of the day, it's human beings we're talking about, and if you cannot support them and provide the services. But look, ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to look after our own people. We have 17,500 people homeless, Irish, you know, a lot of those Irish people that need to be supported, families. Like the protests, while the protests started off as agricultural contractors and farmers, it struck a nerve with everybody up and down. Like, all middle income Ireland is feeling severe pressure in respect of living and everything else. I was just looking even in respect of the money that Ukrainians were getting, and, you know, I think roughly €40 per adult and 30 per child. So I was just saying, like, if there was 2 adults and 2 children, it was 140. There are a lot of Irish families that we say middle-income Ireland with 2 good jobs that would not have €140 at the end of the week after paying their bills and running their families.
And I guess that's what Simon Harris meant by damaging social cohesion.
It does, and exactly. And people are angry. And, you know, I think it's got to the point where that anger, for a long time was simmering, it has now actually, and the protests actually managed to cause it to boil over and everything else. So I think government, while we say the protests and they didn't like them and everything else, and they can use whatever language they like around it, but I think in ways it may have been a bit of a wake-up call to them, that we say how close the surface this actually is and how quickly this could happen again.
All right. Our panel staying with me. Let me take a break. We are live from Tipperary FET here on Kenyon Street in Nenagh. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck-On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Kenyon Street in Nenagh. Welcome back to Tipperary FET College here. We're delighted to be here this morning. A Friday panel with us. Thomas Conway is here, Imelda Walsh and Teresa Collins. And we move on because the government has defended its decision to exempt modular homes in back gardens from planning permission in the face of a barrage of opposition and criticism that it would allow renters to be ripped off by landlords. Now, the Cabinet approved the exemption last week, but there has been much confusion about what exactly it means when it comes into action. And in fairness to Michael Murphy yesterday, he had a good old go at clarifying it for us, but needless to say. Teresa, can I start with you? Is it a good idea, do you think? Is there merit in it?
I was listening to Michael Murphy yesterday and I kind of got lost halfway through it, actually. It didn't hold me to find out the full extent. I suppose I'd look on maybe a family and a farm if there was room and if it was necessary and you had the way of doing it. Nothing wrong with it. Now, years ago, I suppose we called them granny flats. When you look at it, you'd build on an extension to your house for your son or your daughter and move in the mother, whatever way. It's good, but once you don't blackguard the system again, I mean, I'd like to see something done, but if you're going to build a modular home and you have an acre of land and you have it, and you're better off to build a bungalow.
Right. And what are you afraid of with it, Teresa?
I'm afraid, number one, modular home timber, fire, there's health and safety, there's a lot of areas that you'd look into it.
But there is criteria around that, I understand, from that conversation yesterday. Yeah.
I just think people would take too much advantage of it and rent out a shed to, God help us, a student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Student going to college or whatever and just be stuck with a shed in the back garden. I don't agree with that. to any human being.
Right, but there are standards that it has to adhere. At least I understand that there is. Thomas, what are you making of this?
Oh yeah, I think you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. I would support it. I think, desperate times call for desperate measures, if you want to put it that way. I would support the building of modular homes. We need to ramp up supply as much as is possible, and if this is a mechanism through which you can house people, I think in the short term, I think it's a good idea. And I think the opposition criticism of it, I know it's confusing, granted, and Michael Murphy did come on.
It is, and why it will be exempt from planning permission, but you still have to jump through an awful lot of hoops.
Well, that's the danger. I mean, we have an over-regulated sector, I think, in terms of house building and property and that. And I suppose there are reasons for that, but I think we need to loosen up those regulations if we are to make significant strides in terms of ramping up investment. I think this is one way of doing our housing construction. I think this is one way of doing it, and I think the opposition criticism is kind of predictable. I kind of think we need more unity around housing. We need a unified strategy, and we need people to come together on it.
Now, I understand that this won't be counted in the numbers in terms of people being housed.
Yeah, that's slightly. I'm not sure what to make of that, to be honest. I think if people are in a house, they're in a house.
Right.
And if it's a modular home, I've seen one or two in construction and in operation. And they work quite well.
Yeah.
Or they seem to work quite well anyway, from what I've heard and from what I've seen. So, I think it's a welcome development.
Yeah, I put it to Michael yesterday as well, Emily. This is something you would be across, that, would you not be better off to look at the difficulties around somebody who wants to live in a rural community building a bungalow, as we did all those years ago as well. Now, he said that, things have changed in recent times in terms of...
Yeah, I think it's freeing up a little bit more in relation to the one-off housing, which they were trying to get rid of completely, with saying that, which is obviously to be welcomed. And I think it's important that we grow rural communities. I think we saw there at the beginning of the year in relation to GA communities around the country. Marty Morrissey did a great piece for the RTE News in respect of that. So I would welcome that. In relation to what the government are proposing, and it was John Cummins' brainchild, I welcome it. You can kick the S out of everything if you want and just be negative in respect of it. But to me, this is something that is positive, it's proactive. I was listening yesterday to Owen O'Brien speaking with, I think it was David McCullough and Seamus McGrath, because I knew that article was coming, I wanted to actually listen to it in respect of it. And Owen O'Brien, when it was put to him fairly strongly, Sinn Féin, and an eloquent speaker and everything else, but he did accept there was lots of merits. All he could bring out in relation to his only concern was in relation to renters, that they wouldn't be taken advantage of, because I think it's certification rather than tenants' rights that they actually have, and that was the only. And if that issue could be ironed out, for the most part, he was quite supportive of it. We are in desperate times, and desperate times call for desperate measures. So if this is something that can actually help to alleviate that, and I'm sure many people would appreciate the space. And there's a lot of regulation, and talking about the shed, the shed has been ruled out, because that question came up yesterday in respect of it. And there's no way, I can decide that I'm going to let somebody into my garden shed, and that's not going to happen. And I think even above, in relation to the rents, anything above 14,000, that the whole thing will be subject to tax, and anything below that.
And you're right about that, and that's a very important point. If it goes above that, the whole
thing,
exactly. It's not just on the amount above the 14,000.
So we can be negative in relation to everything, we can be critical of government, but to me, if government is doing something that is positive and is going to help to alleviate the situation...
the only thing, I can't see a whole load of people taking this up, though, because, a modular home is expensive.
Yeah, very expensive, Fran, and, to be honest, you'd nearly have a bungalow practically up for the price of a modular home.
Yeah.
You'd have if you had a family that worked with it. I'm kind of 50-50 on the fence, because it's again, when it came to the Ukrainians coming in, and I don't mean to criticise them by no means. It was a great idea at the time. 2 or 3 years down the line, what way is the idea going to go? No. I'd like to know where you stand. A person building a modular home. Now, I know for a fact, I think insurance is a lot of it. There is a lot of nitty-gritty that I'd like to see ironed out first.
Have you any concern, Thomas, about the infrastructure around this, around, water and sewage and the like? Have you any?
That's another consideration that has to be made. I haven't spoken to homeowners of modular homes, so I'm not entirely sure, but it is definitely a consideration.
Yeah, because we already have issues.
I mean, you need utilities. You need the basic services in order to run a home, and that has to be considered. But I think it is a short-term measure. I think it's not going to last in the long term. I think that was a good parallel you drew there with the Ukrainian thing. A good response in the moment, but certainly as a long-term solution is probably not going to cut it.
All right, okay. Let me take another break. We're live from Kenyon Street in Inch today. Back with our panel in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1-800-938-007.
Welcome back. Our Friday panel. Teresa Collins is with us, Thomas Conway and Imelda Walsh. Now, those images in a memorandum filed by the US government showing that Cole Thomas Allen, the man accused of opening fire at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last weekend with weapons in a hotel room before the attack and during Saturday night's incident, Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, cabinet members and other White House officials were rushed from the Washington Hilton Hotel ballroom after gunfire rang out. A Secret Service agent, as you know, at this point was shot, but not seriously wounded during the attack at the hotel. And Allen faces life in prison if found guilty. I spoke to Thomas about this during the week. Imelda, can I start with you on it? Third attempt on his life?
Yeah.
I can't believe you.
Sorry, apologies, Fran, apologies to our listeners and to all those people that do support Donald Trump for saying that. He's definitely the cat with the 9 lives. He's down to 6 now, though. I suppose I found it interesting in relation to their Secret Service agents and all of this, that this actually managed to happen.
You'd question the security around it, would you?
I would, yeah. Well, a little bit was saying that, but I suppose like when you go back to the gun laws in America and how freely people can actually have guns and everything else, that, that brings its own problems. And I think we've spoken about this in the past and everything else. And that is, how loose they are in America and how easy it is for anybody to walk in and get a gun and everything else, but it's... it's regrettable, no matter what. He is the president of America. Yeah. He was elected, democratically elected, and you've got to respect it. No matter what you think of somebody, you've got to respect the democratic process in relation to
political violence is not the way.
No, exactly. Yeah. But I have to commend him the way he comes out afterwards.
Within 2 hours, he was
exactly,
hosting
and everything
a press conference.
Yeah, exactly, and everything else. He really seems to thrive on it, was saying that to a certain degree, was saying that, or whether, I don't know, was saying that, how he feels about it, but he always comes out with saying that, beating his chest in respect of it, was saying that, yes.
And use it to put forward the theory that they need that ballroom in the White House.
And they were going to reschedule and everything else,
Well, you have to admire the resilience.
That's what I'm saying, without a shadow of a doubt, whatever you say was saying that, you'd actually, if you didn't know better, you'd actually say it was part of a soap opera, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, much speculation and online and sort of conspiracy theories.
With all of that, you're always going to have that,
What did you make of it, Teresa?
As I say, fair play to him in one sense, I can't say. He's getting world attention, isn't he, in every which way you ask for him, political and himself private. It's a pity a good dinner was ruined, though, in all fairness. So, look, as the saying is, as Imelda said, they can reschedule the dinner.
Yeah. The man who continued to eat his salad calmly.
Actually, that was
Did they identify who that person was?
I'm not sure if they did.
He just stayed eating.
You had to admire his composure,
And quite naturally...
Or his appetite.
His appetite, indeed.
He just happy to be gracefully eating away, and, and he looked around and he seen everyone ducking and diving, but... I'm going to eat my salad or whatever he was eating.
Yeah.
So it was actually, I felt for them in one sense, because when I did hear the playback and you could hear the gunshots in the background. Now, they probably were terrified, but I will give the Secret Service 10 out of 10. They were on the ball straight there, dealt with it as quick as they could. As Imelda says, he's on his sixth life, is it?
He's six left.
So, fair play to him, I suppose.
Since we last spoke, Thomas, I mean, have you thought any more about this? Have you come to any other conclusions about this?
Yeah, like a couple of things have emerged. The Hilton Hotel, where this incident took place, is apparently a massive complex. Like, there are different floors. I don't think the would-be assassin or the culprit was even on the same floor as Trump. So I'm not sure how critical the danger was. But certainly it raises fresh questions around the whole issue. Security, political violence, the kind of polarised climate in America at the moment.
But also, and I think we touched on this the other day, putting your cabinet or the main players in your cabinet on the one table on a stage, elevated, is that not sort of...
Yeah, it is. In a way, they're sitting ducks.
Yeah.
But, I actually found myself half agreeing with Trump when he talked about the ballroom. Like, if you get a secure environment like that, it does bolster his argument for it, I think.
Yeah. Where security would be fine-tuned.
Where security, it'll be in the White House, essentially, and you would have a security bubble around that. But it does raise questions, and... we hear a lot about the far right, and they, I think, pose a danger, but there is far left violence as well. Both extremes are dangerous.
And is it worth pointing out that the shooter, as they call him in the States, the shooter, a teacher, an engineer?
Yeah, a seemingly kind of, I don't know, would you call it a respectable guy who's living a respectable life? And he just emerges with this manifesto, with everything, and I thought Trump was clearly, perturbed by it. You saw his reaction in that interview with Norah O'Donnell. He went apoplectic.
This is where she mentioned the content of the manifesto that was in the room, including paedophilia and all of that.
And he dismissed her as a horrible person. He was really, really annoyed, and I thought that was striking. You would have to be affected by it in some way, even if you're Donald Trump, if it's a threat in your life. But he does thrive off the energy of it, and he thrives off the publicity it gives him at the same time.
Will there be more?
It's anyone's guess. I mean, he's the most powerful man in the world. He's the most famous man in the world, and he's probably the most polarising man in the world. So it's kind of inevitable that there's probably any number of threats in his life any day, but most of them are
And just finally, Imelda, whatever about the bluster and what he does in the macho thing and all of that, he has to go home and go to bed in the dark. And I mean, as Thomas said, there must be a trauma. There has to be.
Oh, there has to be, we'll say, without a shadow of a doubt. Like any of us, and sometimes it's after the event, like when all the excitement and all the hustle and bustle and all of that, and you go back to, back to where you live. And the reality has to sink in relation to this is the third attempt on your life, we'll say, and that, And to me, I suppose, while they didn't get into the room or anything else, but you're right, Fran, when you said there at the start of the conversation in respect of this, J.D. Vance, all of the heavy hitters there. I was actually thinking back in relation to the original attack on Iran when they went, because they knew that all the heavy hitters were in the one place at the one time, and they successfully managed to take out most of them on that particular occasion. That they are leaving themselves very vulnerable in respect of that. But to me, I'd be honest, it calls in relation to the security and the intelligence that they actually have. That has to be, when you wrap back all of the wrapping, you have to be concerned in relation to that he even got within the distance that he did get of being there.
All right, interesting. Before I go to the break, can I ask you about something else? Because as I was saying to Alan Kelly, I think it's gone under the radar today, is Mercosur has been provisionally introduced, but it's seismic. Why isn't it making the headlines?
I don't know. I just saw there this morning that Francie Gorman must be on Radio 1. It isn't making the headlines. I don't know what's happening, Fran, in the sense that important issues, they seem just to have been swept under. Like when you go back to January and that meeting in Athlone where there was 30,000 people in respect of it, we'll say that, and then we saw the Taoiseach doing the U-turn in respect of it, Martin Hayden on a different page in respect of it, and everything else, and absolutely nothing. It is hugely concerning in that respect that it is allowed to go under the radar, that there's not anybody out shouting about this in relation to it and the impact it's going to have.
Very early this morning I heard a discussion on national radio about it where they touched on it, but it was all about the positives of it, and there was no mention really about the fallout for agriculture.
None whatsoever. And it's ironic because I happened to be with somebody a couple of months ago in respect of this that's works for a state agency, an arm of the state that's very handsomely rewarded, and his point was that it's such a small volume coming in that of course it's going to make an impact, and it's going to make a huge impact on countries like Ireland in respect of that. We export so much of what we actually do.
But the rebuttal to that this morning was we'll sell lots of whiskey into South America.
Well, exactly. And to me, we say, Fran, and to me, and I remember talking in your programme about it in relation to the whole Board B thing at the time, is in relation to the type of product that's coming into the market. It's the way in saying it is, it's carcinogenic, all the hormones, all the antibiotics, no regulation, no paperwork, nothing in relation to it, and we're going to allow this in.
Is that something you're across, Teresa? Would you, are you interested in that?
Well, like when we eat our own beef or meat, of course you're interested. You want to know what's going into your body. I think it's a disgrace, to be honest, that it has gone so quietly under the radar. I suppose there's so many things bought out, it's easy to shake it under and let it off,
You'd also question the democracy of it, really, in terms of how it has been imposed in the end. But there you go.
But you see, Fran, I think that so much has happened. Like when you go back to the whole Board B saga, you go back to the protests, you go back to that and everything else. And I think that the farming organisations need to come out and be stronger, we'll say that. And I know after the whole Board B and the whole Larry Murren thing and everything else, and I noted in the paper yesterday where it's going to be 2 more months before there's any report in respect of that. So that's shoving it out until the end of June, and then you're at the all summer recess, and there's nothing going to happen. And Larry Murren's 3 years is up next March anyway. So it's one could be
Thomas,
cynical.
are you surprised that has gone under the radar, relatively gone under the radar?
Because it's a big day in a very negative sense, I think, for Ireland. It will be celebrated in Brussels, I would imagine. They will herald it as a massive groundbreaking achievement. But it's definitely not so for Ireland, and not for Tipperary in particular,
All right, let me take a break. Back with the final portion of our panel. Welcome back to the final part of Tip Today, indeed the final part of our panel as well. And Teresa and Melda and Thomas is with us now. A subject very close to my heart, stress. Because in our wellness slot yesterday, Muriel Cuddy explained that chronic stress is what happens when your body stays stuck in high alert mode instead of settling back down once the pressure has passed on. She told me she is seeing more and more people coming through her clinics now with long-term chronic stress. The numbers just keep rising, and some of those coming by are very young people indeed. Thomas, any surprise about that?
Not really, I have to say. And I listened back to the slot. It was explained superbly in terms of the physiological effect of stress and that. But I'm not really, because today's society is, everybody's high-wired. I kind of know it from working in journalism and media. You're coping with deadlines and that. But it can be corrosive stress. It can really devastate lives in terms of the emotional impact and that. But I think we're living in a society that generates stress, that actually it's the culture we're living in.
We're kind of thriving on it in some ways.
There's a bit of an adrenaline kick. And look, don't get me wrong, you need a bit of stress in order to perform. Everyone will tell you, athletes will tell you that, but it can become too much, it can become overwhelming, and I think we need to be very cognizant of it. That was a very kind of revealing slot. I'd encourage people to listen back to it.
Because there are tools there that you can address it in some way, but it's not easy. Teresa, that notion, Thomas making the point there that, the era that we're living in now, it appears to be more stressful. Is it more stressful than when we were growing up, do you think, Teresa?
100%.
Is it?
It is. From children going to school to normal everyday life. You're on a tightrope, you're getting out in time, you're coming back in time, you're trying to do you're trying to maybe make 10 yourself when we didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know, it has gone stressful. And I actually listened to the piece yesterday, and she did put it very exact to what it is. And I also think maybe the generation coming up behind us won't know how to actually come down from the stress level back to what we'd call down to our own level, down to our own normality as we knew it.
But do you not think, Teresa, now, one of the points I put to her yesterday was, are there not certain personality types that are just stressed and worriers? I was quoting my own mother when she picked up the phone, she said, "What's wrong?" That was her, instead of hello.
Oh, there is,
and that has been passed, thanks to her for that, it's passed on to me as well. Are there not certain personality types that are?
There is, but I mean, I wouldn't call that stress saying what's wrong now, because I say it 1,000 times a day.
Yes.
That's part of me. To me, I'd be more worried on the person staying in the corner, staying quiet, maybe going through a lot, not talking.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the way I'd be looking at it. And then you can also, the person that's extrovert, that'll come out and everything will be rosy, but just behind it all, it mightn't be.
Yeah.
So you have to be a judge of your own stress levels, I think, too. You have to know how to deal with it.
And how damaging
it can do.
To you as well, yeah. What about you, Immaculate? Because, forgive me for saying this, but the moment I started to talk to you about Mercosur, for example, I could see in you that, that it's so important to you and it's so vital that you were getting stressed there right in front of
I was annoyed about it, was saying that.
But annoyance plays into stress too, doesn't it?
It probably does, with saying that, but I suppose I'm fortunate, will say, when I'm doing something, then when I'm finished with that, I can park it.
Can you?
Oh, I can, no matter what. And anything I've ever been involved in, once I leave it, the way some people, when they finish in something, they hang on to it and they can't let go, and they still, want to be part.
Am I blushing?
No, not at all, Fran. But there's a lot more stress, and I think we probably take a little bit of responsibility ourselves in respect of it. I'm thinking perhaps of, young families nowadays and kids with extra school activities, whether it's swimming, whether it's dancing, gymnastics or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 or 3 kids and you can be on the road in the evening, we'll say, from 5 o'clock constantly, we'll say, be in this GA pitch or this swimming pool or this gymnastics class or whatever, we'll say, and both parents are rushing, and it's constant, that every hour of every day is filled. And it's like the song 8 days a week, that we really need 8 days.
So that is very different to yesteryear, isn't it?
Exactly, because my granddaughter would often say to her mammy, "Mammy, what activities are you doing?" You're young? And Louise would look at me and said, "I hadn't any." She said, "Thomas went and played hurling. I didn't have any interest in camogie," and there wasn't, and you didn't take them. And it's just that from the child when they're age 3 and they're going to preschool,
every moment is filled.
Every moment will say that. In relation to it, will say that. And it's the school, even while play school is play school, and it's manipulated and formed in relation to the abilities of the child, but it's still into that formal setting of, whereas when mine was small, when we were young, it was different. There wasn't as much, we'll say that. And I suppose even the stress now of being constantly under, I suppose, media spotlight, for the want of a bit, or with the whole mobile phone, with saying that the cameras and everything is. Before, if you went out and made a fool of yourself, and you might talk about it the day after. Whereas now that photograph is there,
and it can haunt you,
forever. And it's even like the bullying. We say before, when you come home from school, the bully had stopped, but now it's coming home with you.
Of course, and it's brought into the bedrooms and all of that. Thomas, you strike me as not too straight. You're kind of calm guy, aren't you?
I don't know. Am I? If you see me behind the scenes,
you're on the inside looking out, isn't it?
I think you have to have a certain level of composure or coolness if you're working in journalism, if you're working to deadlines and stuff like that, because I think you need to be able to hold it together, and particularly maybe in politics or in sports journalism, if you're filing a match report and you're at a match and you're under pressure to get the thing back, you do have to be able to hold it together.
But as you say, that's the stress of a job. But the negative stress, where you're questioning everything you say, everything you do, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to have a certain confidence in yourself. I think you have to be able to back, or be willing to back yourself. I think that's absolutely critical. And I do think it probably relates to self-confidence. If you're in any way, if you feel your work isn't up to scratch, or what you did is wrong, I mean, it will come back to bite you, and it can cause people an awful, I probably wouldn't say I'm that stressful a person, but you know, I have sympathy for those who do feel it, because
absolutely. I mean, I know social media, Teresa, gets blamed for absolutely everything, but I can safely say this: I spend hours on it. I have to admit, I do. I never come off it feeling better. I always come off social media feeling, oh, gee, so and so died, or so and so is in trouble, or I'm in trouble, or people give out about me, or whatever. You know, I never come off it feeling good about anything, really.
Well, I suppose my tactic to that, and it's just my tactic, is I don't do social media after 6 o'clock in the evening.
See, there's a sensible
like there's sensible, yeah.
Sensible,
if you were on social media and when you see what's there, you would lose your life.
Yeah, I know.
And I think I even said it to a friend of mine during the week. It was RIP Ireland I was looking at, actually, and I said, that's it, I'm cutting out of it, because if I see any more 35, 26-year-olds, the way things has gone, I said, that's not good for my health.
Of course it's not.
So I said, that's it. Just come off the site.
The social media, are you disciplined as to how you use it?
I can park it with saying that, Fran, but what I've seen, though, is the viciousness on it in respect of it, with saying that.
Oh, my God.
And to the point that would really stop you from commenting on something.
I know.
That, I remember a number of years ago, I did a piece with Peter Gleeson in The Guardian in respect of, we say, young people not eating meat, you know, and dairy and all of that. And somebody had put it up on Twitter, and people go, now, I didn't buy it, when I say something, I'm going to stand over it, and I'm going to take ownership of it. We'll say that. But it was something relatively harmless. But it was obviously somebody from vegan, you know, in relation with that whole ad with the cow and the calf, taking the calf off its mother, and all that. You know, that was a big topic at the time. You know, but you just, I suppose, it's the viciousness that's out there,
right?
And nobody.
But as Thomas was saying, if you're the kind of person who is kind of together and you have a certain.
But for other people, like it would hugely have a negative impact on them. And I'd see people, even in respect of they'd be at something and they'd be after doing a very good presentation, but they started to doubt themselves afterwards. Even somebody might say something, and they just take that comment, it's totally innocent comment, and read far more into it than was ever meant, and that's the unfortunate part.
All right, great panel, and thank you very much indeed to Imelda, to Teresa, and to Thomas. Thank you for that. That's it for me. Leanne produced, Owen looked after all the techie stuff. Stevenson's on the way with the time tunnel. He's on Outside Broadcast today as well. And enjoy your bank holiday, but do look after yourselves, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Bye-bye now.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938-007.